Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him. It's a sack.
Sixers.
Oh, baby.
And Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Isn't it about time for somebody's favorite radio program?
97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
Now, live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
Happy Hour Friday. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash. 97.3 ESPN. 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. We are streaming live as always on YouTube and X. Let's get into it today on the show. Eagles preseason game number 2. We'll dig into what we have learned this weekend during practices and what we can expect this weekend from the Birds. Phillies have an important series with another set of Birds, the St. Louis Cardinals. St. Louis Cardinals, 3.5 days behind them in the wild card standings. Plus, we will get into all the particulars when it comes to Happy Hour Friday, the NFL, so much going on to get to. And of course, you guys can join the conversation on the White Horse RV text board, as always, at 609-403-0973. Your comments are always welcome as well. On the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel, we are streaming live each and every day here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. I will remind everybody that Mike Gill's A-Shore team plays tonight. So the next update, we won't know anything until tonight. I think it's very interesting for Mike, by the way, really quick, we'll get to the Eagles and play stuff. You know, Mike Gill's team is on the verge of doing something they did 5 years ago. And if you want to go back and listen to my conversation with Mike Gill yesterday on the Sports Bash, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but it's pretty exciting and wild that the position that they are in to win again. I think it's wild. Maybe I'm the crazy person, but I think it's pretty cool and exciting that they have a chance to win the World Series for their age bracket. So, but that's 7:00 tonight for the A-Shore team. Before we get there, I want to get into the Eagles because we'll get to the Phillies a little bit later. We have Mike McGarry of the Press of Atlantic City coming up in about 30 minutes. Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad at 3:25. The Phightin Words Phillies podcast is Bob Wankel's pod with him and Ant Sanfilippo. And then we got Oscar Budejen, today's Phillies Fastball. We got football talk as well because Zach Berman from The Athletic is going to join us coming up at 3 p.m. And Andrew DeCecco for today's football at 4 joins us as well. I want to kick off with the Eagles because I think there is a lot that has come out this week from the joint practices. And I am not talking about the fiasco when it comes to A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. I don't really care about that stuff. I feel like that's more for the clicks and the views on social media than it is for anything that actually matters to the Philadelphia Eagles moving forward. But we saw at practices this week that the Eagles offense did have its moments of good and bad. And it's to be expected for a team that is learning a brand new offense, number one. Number two, did not have Devontae Smith for several days of training camp. Didn't have Micaiah Lemon for 2 weeks of training camp. And so a lot of this offense has been heavily built around Dontavian Wicks, Elijah Moore, Dallas Goedert, Hollywood Brown. Those are the guys getting the majority of the reps. Also, Darius Cooper, we'll throw him in the conversation as well. And you saw we literally saw, but we've read all the reporting and all the analysis from the people covering a team. Again, we've had Adam Caplan the last couple of days live from Foxborough. Andrew DeCecco was there. He'll join us at 4 p.m. Zach Berman wrote a very lengthy piece at The Athletic about it. So whatever your favorite Eagles beat person, we've been kind of gathering all the information. What I've come to learn is that this offense is so hyper dependent on timing and on guys being in the right place at the right time that seems to be the real origin for some of the offensive issues at camp. I want to bring back for you guys, this is what Jordan Mailata said yesterday after the second day of joint practices. And I think it's so important to bring it up again because it's one thing for me and you to see something. It's another thing for the reporters and the beat guys to put something online or report something or write an article. But it's another thing when the players confirm some of what we have already been talking about with the Birds.
It was a chance to go against a great defense and see, what this new offense and the potential that it can get to. It's been very educative from a offensive standpoint, to say the least. We have a chance to do something special, but in order to do that, we can't have days like the last 2 days of up front. It always starts up front, and we've had multiple false starts. It starts with me and Lane, and it's got to trickle down to the receivers and everyone that's on that field. And so we have the potential to do a lot, but that's all it is. It's potential. It's we see the limit that the sky's the limit. Everybody always says that, but we see where we can get to, and we had a good day yesterday, and today we've got to clean up some of that less boxing and more football.
So a couple of huge things there from Jordan Mailata. One is the fact that it's very obvious when you listen to him and other players talk that the players are very, very aware. They are very cognizant that the success of this new offense really is going to be a team effort. It's not going to be an individual having to do all the work. And I think that is an important highlight because we have spent so much time this offseason talking about the new offense and how Jalen Hurts will run it. And we spent so much time talking about this new O-line coach and how the offensive lineman will receive him. And we get to training camp and we find out that apparently the players really like the new O-line coach, Chris Cooper, particularly Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, and Landon Dickerson, who, frankly, those are three of the most five important O-linemen, so who cares what the other guys think, right? I say that in jest a little bit, okay? I know somebody listening on 973 ESPN is probably going to take that a little too seriously. What do you mean? Who cares what Cam Jerkins thinks? We're moving on. You hear them talking about how Mailata saying, us O-linemen, we got to do our job. We gotta make sure that we are putting ourselves in position to make this offense succeed. Saquon Barkley, similar comments yesterday to the media as well. We've heard Devontae Smith talk about that in terms of the timing and the route running in this offense. So to me, it's very apparent that the Eagles players are well aware of the pressure that comes with, hey, we did not reach our expectations last year. So the answer the organization gave everybody was the offensive coordinator was not good enough. We got rid of him. We're bringing in a brand new offense. We're giving autonomy to this guy who's running the offense. This is no longer Nick Sirianni's offense or a variation what Nick Sirianni wants to run. So the players understand that the pressure is now on them. And I don't just mean pressure on Jalen Hurts. I mean the pressure on the rest of the guys to step up. It's on Mannion to communicate. It's on Sirianni to keep everybody focused on task. It's on the O-line to execute. It's on the receivers to get to their places in the offensive scheme. And again, I feel like what's very interesting about all of this is because we've never seen an offense like this, there is a part of us that says, are we really going to have to wait until, the 13th? Yeah, the 13th of September in order to see this offense in action? And the simple answer is yes. And the reason why that is might be a little deeper than people realize. I was listening to more of the season podcast with Jason Kelce and Nick Foles. We played some of the audio yesterday from the pod. It's a pretty long podcast. It's like 90 plus minutes. So I don't have time to just sit down and listen to 90 minutes unvetted. So I had to take some more time last night and this morning. And Jason Kelce made a fascinating observation about why we don't see the guys in preseason. Now, over the years, we've heard a lot of talk about how NFL coaches, they prefer joint practices over preseason games. We've heard Vic Fangio talk about that with the current batch of Eagles. We've heard Doug Peterson talk about that with the past era of Eagles football. We've heard other players and coaches talk about that around the league. But there might be another reason why we're not seeing this offense in action in the preseason full tilt. Here was Jason Kelce's explanation on the season podcast with Nick Foles.
I think that they're still, I don't know this. I want to be very candid. I haven't talked to Nick about this or anybody at the Eagles. Jalen Hurts took a shot on the sideline maybe in 2021 against the Jets in a preseason game. And I think that is kind of still in the back of the minds of everybody in that organization because it was a late out of bounds hit that could have gotten him done for a good portion of the season, if not all of it. And I think then and there, I bet that the team and everybody involved with it probably made the decision of we're going to be on the cautious side of what we do in these preseason games.
I want you to process that for a minute. Kelce is saying, look, I'm not reporting anything. I don't know this for a fact. But as somebody who was in the building, as someone who played, remember, Kelce played with Hurts from 2020 to 2023. He's worked with Sirianni for years. He's been at training camps the last 2 years. Kelce is, if anyone is going to give a working theory and me believe it, it's Jason Kelce. It's not some dweeb with a bunch of followers on X and Instagram, okay? So for me, I look at what Jason Kelce said, and I find it extremely fascinating. He's saying that hit that Jalen Hurts took versus the New York Jets a few years ago is a precursor for how the Eagles have adjusted their philosophy when it comes to playing versus not playing guys. And Kelce went on to say that he might didn't like it, but there's a good reason why the Eagles sit players, not just starters in the preseason, but for the final game of the season. And he references a specific game that myself and Mike Gill have highlighted numerous times right here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
End of the season game when you already had your playoff seed locked up. Remember last year they decided, because a couple, 2-3 years ago, they decided to do it and he got nicked up.
Yeah,
So
he got nicked up. We also lost A.J. Brown against the Giants in that game. We tried to build some type of confidence going into the postseason in the year you're talking about in that last game. And it's just hard when, like, you're going into a game and, like, hey, you guys are only going to play half of it. You already got the playoffs linked up. It just, to me, the energy is not the same by the starters when they go into those games. It wasn't for us when we did it in 2017. Like, we went out there against Dallas, and it was like, dude, it kind of was a crappy performance. And it's like everybody's kind of already, I don't want to say you're checked out, but, like, you're thinking about next week. Like, we got a playoff game.
So let's process this for a minute, okay? So we're talking about two different games here, so let's map it out. So if you remember, don't remember, the preseason game against the Jets, Hurts was running out of bounds. He got popped by, I think it was Quincy Williams. Someone could double check my information on that. But there was a preseason game. He gets popped out of bounds, and there was almost a fight during the game, right? And then you heard Kelsey and the guys from the season pod reference the final game of the 2023 season versus the Giants, where Hurts and A.J. Brown got banged up in the game. Obviously, A.J. Brown missed the next game in the postseason. Hurts didn't look right the rest of that game or the postseason game. So Kelsey and the guys are kind of mapping out that for as much as we want to see the Eagles offense in action, getting reps before September 13th when they play the Washington Commanders. Of course, you hear every Eagles game right here in South Jersey on home for Eagles football in Southern New Jersey, 97.3 ESPN FM. Merrill Reese, Mike Quick calling out the action, not just tomorrow's preseason game, but for every Eagles preseason, regular season, and postseason game right here in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. But they're saying that, look, there were two games when Kelsey played there that has changed the philosophy of this organization in terms of how they handle starters in the preseason and at the end of the season. And that basically the organization is always going to be cautious moving forward when it comes to their quarterback and their starters. So for the regular fan, for the majority of us, we don't get to go to practices. We only know what the reporters tell us, right? We only see a couple clips here and there online. But not seeing them the preseason game, historically, you go back in the 90s, early 2000s, and the 1980s, you saw the offenses out there. You saw teams getting reps out there, and you started to get a feel for what the team could be. But now we're not seeing them, and Kelsey's explaining, look, because part of the conversation they had on the season podcast was, what is the Eagles offense going to be in 2026? And Kelsey's explaining, look, the reason why we're not seeing these guys is because the Eagles have already had too many bad experiences with Hurts and others getting banged up. And so now we're looking at the Eagles a little differently, right? We're looking at it as a, wait a minute, there might be a deeper reason why they're trying to protect these guys. And Nick Foles and Jason Kelsey went on to explain on the season pod about how these joint practices have way more value than the preseason games, to the point where Nick Foles suggests that if you do run with your primary offense and defense in the preseason, it's actually a bad idea.
Preseason games, you're not going to show a lot. Obviously, you know, Baltimore showed more on defense. I was surprised how many blitzes they were bringing. And yeah, that'll be great during the preseason, but now they have all the film and everyone's going to know exactly what the blitzes are. So, but what's great about joint practices is you're probably going to do your offense. Like, you're going to show a little bit more of the shifts, the motions.
Yep.
Probably not like your special plays per se, maybe like one every now and then.
There's still cameras out there. I wouldn't do anything you still want to keep too close, but you're right. Yeah, you do more. And you also get more situations in. Right, yes. The starters are gonna rep a 2 minute. They're gonna rep a 4 minute, a backed up, but like you're gonna get the full gambit of what you would see in a game in real situations.
I thought it was fascinating when Foles said that he was surprised how much the Ravens threw at the Eagles, considering teams now have it on tape, like an actual game tape, an actual all 22, and now they can go into the regular season. I'm going to be curious when we have our football conversations throughout the year, whether it's here on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3, ESPN, or myself, Josh Hennig on Hanging with Hennig on Saturdays, 12 to 3 p.m., following the locker room with Billy Schweim on Saturdays. When we have our football conversation during the year, do we look at the Ravens as a team that people might have a little more information on their defense than other teams? Side note. But further note, they said, look, the joint practices, we're allowed to do more. We have more opportunities to rep situations and kind of figure out what we can and can't do. And so I find it very fascinating that these are two guys who played for the Eagles. Kelsey, who is as dialed in as anyone, saying, this is why you will not see the starting offense in the preseason, why it's going to be vanilla on both sides of the ball. Because the Eagles say, look, this joint practice, that's where we iron out the kinks in the armor. That's where we take the car for a test drive and see what needs to be tuned up on it, what needs to be changing the variables in this offense heading into the season. Which is also probably part of the reason why the NFL is going to get away from more preseason games in the near future. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of reporting out there. The NFL wants to get it down to actually 2 preseason games when they go to an 18-game regular season schedule. But that's conversation another day. So let me get you guys what you guys think. At 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. White Horse RV Centers in Williamstown and Galloway. Your RV adventure starts here at White Horse RV. Jeff in Ocean City chimes in and says, will the Eagles win the division for the 3rd straight season, or Dallas take it this year? By the way, nice Phillies polo, Jeff in Ocean City. Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube and X, thank you, Jeff. On that 973 ESPN Phillies, maroon Phillies polo today. I actually don't have anything City Connect related. I don't have any in the I don't really have anything Phillies related that's anything to do with any of the looks that I don't like. I hate the City Connects. I'm not a fan of the Phillies cream uniforms. I feel like they wear them way too much. I have always been of the opinion, maybe this is a hot topic we can have a conversation, say, for Happy Hour Friday here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Rank for me your favorite Phillies uniforms, because to me, I got a big 3. Maybe a big 4, but a big 3 is I love the Phillies red pinstripe. I love the powder blue Phillies. I'm cool with the grays, the road grays with the Phillies red. But I would love to see them bring back the maroon uniforms. And I'd like to see them maybe trot back out the road uniforms with the spring training red tops. I would love to see them bring that back. But I hate the City Connect. I'm not a fan of the cream because there's way too much blue in the uniform. The Phillies, to me, are red and white. So that's my quick hot take on the Phillies uniforms. You guys can chime in at 609-403-0973. To me, Jeff, the big key, and we talked about this with Jacob Robinson from The Athletic earlier this week, the big key if the Eagles win or lose the division and if the Cowboys could sneak in and win it, to me comes down to, do we believe the Dallas Cowboys are good enough to win more than 9 games? I think that's the real key. Because if we're playing all things equal and we say that the Eagles and Cowboys split their series 1-1 because each team wins their home game, all right? Well, the Cowboys already got a 1-1. And if we're going to assume, let's say the Cowboys win week 1 against the Giants and week 2 against Washington, right? Again, we're making assumptions here. You're already at 3-1. So do we believe there's 7 more wins on Dallas's schedule? Because they got to play Baltimore, at Houston, Tampa, at Green Bay. Are we really going to believe they're going to win all 4 of those games? Do we believe that after their bye week, which is very late this year, week 14 for Dallas, they finish the year with at the Rams, home against the Jags, home against the Giants, at the Commanders? Are they going to win all 4 of those games? Jeff, to me, the Eagles winning the division is not just about them. It's also about, you mentioned Dallas. If you believe Dallas, with their schedule, can win 11 to 12 games, then the Eagles are in danger of not winning the division again. But if you look at their schedule and say, yeah, that Cowboys team ain't winning more than 9-10 games, then yeah, the Eagles can win for the third straight year, because the Giants still have a lot of flaws in their roster. They're a year away from being a year away. And the Commanders, they've already lost Laremy Tunsil for the year. Well, not for the year, but for at least the first half of the year. So if Tunsil is out for 8 to 12 weeks of the season, the only contender for the Eagles to worry about is Dallas. Unless something that we don't know about the Washington offense. Is Jay Daniels going to bounce back from an injury last year? There's too many questions with the Commanders and the Giants. So it really comes down to, who are the Cowboys in 2026? All right, we'll get to more of your texts on the White Horse RV text board a little bit later this hour at 609-403-0973. But coming up on the other side, we'll get back into the Phillies conversation. Big series this weekend against the St. Louis Cardinals. We'll get Mike McGarry's perspective coming up on the other side here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. And we are streaming live on YouTube and X. Just follow at 973 ESPN.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Get your game on at the Fanatic Sportsbook, in the gallery at Ocean Casino Resort. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here in the Sports Bash Happy Hour Friday edition on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get back to the White Horse RV text board in just a bit at 609-403-0973. Right now, we got Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City. He is on his way to CBP. It is an important series for the Phils this weekend. They took care of the Marlins. They squashed the Marlins' hopes of gaining ground, the Phils. Can they put the Cardinals back down, or will the Cardinals cut in to the wild card race? Mike McGarry will join us right now on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, how you doing on this Friday?
Doing well, Josh, and they're all important now. You know, it's amazing, how the season goes. It's a long season, but it's a sprint now.
Mike, one of the conversations you and I started touching on yesterday, I want to continue today, was about the Phillies and the fact that, their offense has kind of started finding their way this month. And I think it's going to be very important for them to maintain it, because what's going to really be the separator for them in this Cardinals series is the thing that they struggled to do last week in St. Louis, right? Which is score runs consistently. So they got to make sure that this weekend, when they're facing a Cardinals team that doesn't exactly have this elite superstar ace pitcher, that they're not letting their guard down here.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest question with the Phillies right now. There's a lot of enthusiasm for the Phillies. The crowd at the ballpark on Tuesday and Wednesday night, the fans were really into it. The crowd was as loud as it's been all season. And a lot of that is because when this team hits, the way they've been hitting, putting guys on base, singles, doubles, home runs, there's a lot of excitement. They're a fun team to watch. The question now is, can they continue down this path? Because we've seen it in the past where they've gotten hot and then all of a sudden, like a light switch, they go cold. So, yeah, right now they're a fun team to watch. Right now they're clicking offensively. The question is, can they make this last, or how long can they ride this streak out?
And, part of the problem with the Phillies in the past, Mike, has also been the reality, and I hate putting it this way, but I'm just going to be blunt about it. The Phillies, for whatever reason, struggle against pitchers that nobody outside of baseball knows who they are. And my concern is that in this series, you're going to be facing Hunter Dobbins again. You got Andrew Palante coming to the mound. You got pitchers that the average, maybe the casual fan might not know, but these are pitchers historically that not just last week, but in recent times, for whatever reason, Mike, this team has struggled against.
Yeah, one of the reasons for that, and this might bode well for this weekend for the Phillies, is they tend to struggle, and a lot of baseball teams do this. The Phillies aren't the exception of this rule. A lot of baseball teams tend to struggle against pitchers they're seeing for the first time, right? So now you've got an opportunity. You saw some of these guys last weekend in St. Louis. You've got to look at them. And let's face it, in that St. Louis series, I can think of an Alec Bohm fly ball, a JT Realmuto fly ball. They hit some balls that would have been, home runs, certainly at Citizens Bank Park and other ballparks, but they turned into outs in St. Louis. So I think one of the reasons they struggle against pitchers, like you say, that nobody's ever heard of, is because they haven't seen them before. They've seen these guys last weekend. That could bode well for this weekend.
Mike McGarry, the Press of Atlantic City, joining us on his way to CBP tonight. Phillies versus Cardinals. Big set this weekend against the Cardinals. The pitching matchups tonight is it's a Jose Luzardo versus Hunter Dobbins. Tomorrow will be Andrew Painter versus Palante. And Mike, what's interesting is that we know who Luzardo is, right? We know who Sanchez is. He pitches on Sunday. But I am very curious to see what version of Andrew Painter we get tomorrow, because I keep looking at Painter, Mike, and wondering what is his role going to be when we get to the postseason.
Well, his role in the postseason is probably a guy who, is going to come out of the bullpen. I don't expect him to come out of the bullpen in key spots like a high leverage in the seventh, eighth, or ninth innings. But he is a guy who, let's say, Aaron Nola starts a game and you use Nola to get you through the lineup once, and then you can come with Painter. Or if one of the other guys, kind of gets roughed up early, Painter is a guy who can come in. It's interesting to see how Painter pitches on Saturday night. He had been pitching well. He had that rough first inning in Minnesota. I think the interesting thing is, and this is sometimes the confounding thing about analytics, but the analytics say that the Andrew Painter's quote-unquote stuff was as good as it's ever been last Sunday, and it was the best out of any starting pitcher who pitched last Sunday. So I know people who watched the game, watched that first inning, would say, what are we talking about? But those are what the numbers say. So if Painter can continue to build on the outings that he's had the past couple of weeks and eliminate the mistakes that, the one or two mistakes he made that cost him, like, a breaking ball over the heart of the plate that was hit for a grand slam last Sunday. Painter can continue to build on what he's done. And, hey, right now the Phillies are just looking for options. It'd be a plus to say, what role can Andrew Painter play on our postseason roster where, 4 or 5 weeks ago, you were going to ask yourself, is Andrew Painter even going to be on the postseason roster?
Mike, who's the Phillies hitter that you are most curious to watch this weekend?
Interesting question there, Josh. The guy, a couple of guys, what Bryce Harper is doing is really remarkable with his ability to get on base. Since really Luis Ariz came to town, Harper's on base percentage is almost 500 basically. So he's getting on base, and that certainly made a difference in the Phillies lineup. The guy I'm going to continue to watch, to me, is Alec Bohm. When Alec Bohm hits for power, when Alec Bohm hits, this is a completely different lineup than it is when he doesn't hit. You're talking about a guy who can, when Alec Bohm is going well and he's hitting those, Tiger Woods stingers into the gap, or, hitting a ball into the stands, they are a completely different lineup than they are when Alec Bohm is not hitting well. So I'm interested to see if Alec Bohm can continue the streak that he's on this weekend against the Cardinals. I think it makes all the difference in the world for the Phillies.
Hey, what's interesting, Mike, is that you mentioned about how when he's hitting well, Alec Bohm right now is probably in a better position now than he's been in years in this lineup, because now he has Luis Ariz ahead of him. He's not being asked to hit behind Harper anymore. He's hitting behind guys like Luis Ariz or a Bryson Stott. So you're not asking Bohm to be one of your primary hitters. Now you're asking him to be a secondary spot in the lineup. And you could argue he's probably way more comfortable in that role.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right there, Josh. You're talking about a guy who's hitting fifth or sixth in the order. And when you have a guy hitting fifth and sixth in the order, the way he produced, since the All-Star game, since the last couple of weeks, that just lengthens the lineup. And now you really got to pitchers. There's no easy spot in that lineup, right? If you go past Arias, okay, now you have Bohm at 5. Well, he's hitting the ball well. Stott is hitting the ball well. Marsh is hitting the ball well. Rita Muto's hitting the ball well. Crawford's hitting the ball well. It really makes that 5 through 9 part of the lineup really kind of dangerous and just taxes pitches. And the harder you make it for pitchers, the better it is for the Philadelphia Phillies. So, yeah, to me, this weekend, if Alec Bohm can continue what he's done, not only this weekend, but the rest of the season, I think that'll make a huge difference for the Philadelphia Phillies.
What's also interesting, Mike, is that, they are on a stretch of games right now where they're not playing a bunch of left-handed pitchers. I got to double check, but I don't think they played another left-handed pitcher until the Angels series. So you're talking about a lineup that is very left-handed heavy, but you haven't needed to go to the platoons too much. So how do you think that is going to impact a weekend like this?
Well, I think it just helps keep your main guys and the guys on the long side of the platoon, which is the left-handed hitters, guys like Marsh and Crawford. I just think it enables them to feel comfortable. It enables them to get hot in the lineup and just keep going and not have themselves be thrown off by having to face a tough lefty or by being on the bench against a tough lefty. They can get in a rhythm. So I think that's played into their advantage, especially with Justin Crawford. I've been really impressed by Justin Crawford and the way he's played the last 2 to 3 weeks. I think he's hit for some more power. He's shown his speed. He's been solid in the outfield. I think he's another guy that has kind of improved as the season has gone along here.
I'm glad you brought up Crawford because someone asked this question earlier this week, and I wanted to propose it to you. Why don't you think we've talked more about Crawford in recent weeks? Do you think it's just been, all the focus has been on the other guys, or do you think that he's just, quietly flying under the radar here?
Yeah, I think he's quietly flying under the radar, and he probably likes that. One of the reasons we haven't talked about him is because, he is hitting the ball, and he is not the automatic out that he was at a point earlier in the season. And there's just a lot of other stuff to talk about. There's a lot of moving pieces. We've been talking about Bryson Stott going to third base and his transformation there. We've been talking about Alec Bohm getting hot and moving to first base. We've been talking about Bryce Harper going to right field. We've been talking about Luis Ariz coming in and how has he helped the Phillies hitters change their approach. So I think there's been enough other topics to talk about. Hey, if we're not talking about Justin Crawford, that probably is good news for Justin Crawford.
It's almost like an umpire, right? If you don't talk about the umpire, he's doing a good job.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, and he has. He's been doing a good job at the bottom of the order. I just think there's been other positives that have kind of taken away from it. And like I said before, if we're not focusing on Justin Crawford isn't doing this, Justin Crawford isn't doing that, that's good news for the Phillies and Justin Crawford.
Mike, before I let you go, I wanted to kind of give you an opportunity to weigh in. So I asked kind of like a subject of the day, hot topic type question, just because just have a little fun here. I just thought of this today. Typically on Fridays, the Phillies have worn their City Connects. A couple weeks ago, they didn't wear it because it was Honor Chase. They wore the pinstripes. I hate the City Connects, Mike, but I also don't like the cream uniform. It's just too much blue going on for me. I feel like the Phillies are supposed to be red and white. So to me, I want to know for you, what are the Phillies uniforms that you think are the best ones?
Josh, I'm a traditionalist guy for the most part as far as uniforms go. To me, the best uniform that the Phillies have is the red pinstripes. That's the uniform. That's the Phillies' best look. And I think with most teams, that's their best uniform, is the traditional look, the uniforms that they wore back in the days when teams only had one uniform and not, 100 uniforms. I'm not opposed to like City Connects and stuff like that. I think some of them are good. I'm not opposed to alternate jerseys. For instance, I like the New York Mets, like black jerseys that they used to wear on Friday nights. But to me, the Philadelphia Phillies belong in red pinstripes. That's their best look.
Yeah, but see, if I could just jump in, to me, the black uniform of the Mets, there's some history attached to it because I remember Mike Piazza wearing that uniform. I remember guys, like there's no connection to the past with some of these alternate Phillies uniforms. To me, if you're going to go alternate and you want to have fun with it, you go with the powder blue. You go grab the maroon P uniform and bring that back. Like some of these other uniforms, I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the City Connect sometimes. I mean, I know that the idea of the City Connect is they're supposed to connect to the city that you play in, but when the Phillies wear the City Connect, I'm not really understanding where they come from as far as that uniform goes. So I agree with you there, but I would have to say to me, the best uniform for the Phillies would be the red pinstripes, the classic look. And I think that's the case with 99.9% of the teams in baseball.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the red pinstripe. I know Mike Gill doesn't like it as much, but I'm a big fan of the Philly red pinstripes. And me and Mike McGarry, we agree on that here on the Sports Bash.
There you go. And we're on the radio right now, so we're what matters, basically.
Right, we're the authority, right, for right here, right now.
Exactly.
Mike, I appreciate you jumping on today. Enjoy the games this weekend.
All right, everybody have a good weekend out there, and we'll see you down the road. Thanks a lot.
And don't forget AC Press McGarry on X for all of your coverage for the Phillies this weekend. And our conversation with Mike McGarry here on the Sports Bash being brought to you by some of the best seafood you will find in all of South Jersey. That is at Yuri's Waterfront Restaurant and the Boathouse Restaurant at the foot of the bridge in Wildwood. You just go to exit 4 on the Garden State Parkway. You head down Wildwood Boulevard. You cross the bridge. You make a quick right. Boom, right there. Yuri's Waterfront Restaurant and the Boathouse Restaurant. The great thing about Yuri's is whether it's the Sliders Bar or whether it's the Back Deck Bar, you can watch the Phillies games this weekend and still have the best seafood you can find in all of South Jersey because the seafood is extraordinary. The value is tremendous. The sunsets are on the house at Yuri's Waterfront Restaurant and the Boathouse Restaurant at the foot of the bridge in Wildwood. The best of the Jersey Shore is at Yuri's and the Boathouse. Coming up on the other side, we have our Golick Minute. What did Mike Golick say this morning that stood out to me? We'll get to that coming up next here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
LeBron James plays here.
Here comes the Kings down the lane. Oh, man. LeBron James like a locomotive right down the boulevard.
97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's radio home of the Philadelphia 76ers. You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
I'm going to say no way on God's green earth is Fernando Mendoza starting the season. When you have Kirk Cousins there to start the season, again, you have to think of the other 53 players in the locker room. At least start the season off trying to be competitive with all the changes that you made in the offseason. It's a new year. Everybody starts 0-0, and you don't have to start the rookie. So why start him when you have someone like Kirk Cousins? If you didn't, if you just had a bunch of young people in the room, okay, I get it. You have Kirk Cousins to start. Let Fernando Mendoza get the rep, throw, and then put him in at some point during the season.
That was Mike Golick Sr. this morning on the Golick for 10 a.m. to noon right here on 97.3 ESPN. I am so with him on this. I don't understand this obsession with got to get Fernando Mendoza to start. First of all, that interception he threw in the preseason game last night was so bad. I don't even know what he was looking at, honestly. It was just ridiculous. And then people are acting like they have to start him. You brought Kirk Cousins in so you don't have to start Mendoza. You brought Cousins in so Mendoza has someone to learn from and develop under. So why do we need Mendoza out there? Be patient with the young man. The dude had 1 year of high-level success in college football, and we're acting like all of a sudden, he has to be the starter. I understand. People love the new car smell, the new toy that comes in for your kids, the new video game for your console. Everyone loves fresh and new. But these are athletes. These are human beings. These are not objects. Let's have a little patience with the young man. Pat Mahomes didn't start week one. He turned out fine. Aaron Rodgers started week one. He turned out fine. More football talk coming up with Zach Berman from The Athletic right here on Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
The Birds are back. Catch Philadelphia Eagles preseason football as the Eagles get ready for the 2026 season. Heading to Foxborough to face the AFC champion Patriots. Tomorrow night, pregame coverage starts at 6 with Merrill Reese and Mike Wick calling all the action starting at 7.
He takes his drop. He's looking. He's grabbed. They're going to sack him and throw him down at the 23-yard line. Jalen Carter.
This is South Jersey's radio home of the Philadelphia Eagles. 97.3 ESPN. Home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
3 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a happy hour Friday on 97.3 ESPN as Mike's A-Shore team continues their run through the Babe Ruth World Series up there in Jamestown, New York. We're down here talking Eagles football. Eagles 2 joint practices this week in New England. So we'll get into what happened this week and what it means for the team moving forward right now with Zach Berman from The Athletic. Of course, he is covered The Athletic of the Eagles for many, many years. And he joins us right now on the Sports Bash to get more into what his observations were this week from the joint practices and the Birds overall. Zach, welcome back in. How you doing today?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on your show.
I appreciate you jumping on. And I wanted to start with, I was reading through your observations article earlier this morning. I think one of the takeaways I have from it is it feels like that from you've seen not just a joint practice, but from training camp, that, there's a lot of questions about what the offense isn't going to be. And it seems like that this really is still a work in progress and that we really can't make too many presumptions about what the offense is or isn't going to be yet, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think we have an idea of what the offense will look like. The reason why I framed it that way is because Mekhi Lemon and Devontae Smith in particular have not been on the field in team drills for really the better part of 3 weeks. So you haven't really been able to see the full passing game. And then the running game, it's as much as you can tell run fits and whatnot, it's hard to tell exactly how the running game looks before you're tackling to the ground. You don't know if the back would break a tackle. You don't know when the contact would come, right? So it's a little bit harder to ascertain the running game. And I think this offense is really built around the running game. So we have a general idea of certain aspects of this offense, but as far as how it will click, we need to wait until A, the wide receivers are back, and B, we really see the way this run game looks.
You mentioned building around the run game. How much of that is not just because of Saquon, but because the offensive line is expected to be back full 100% for this year?
Yeah, all the above, right? So, you have a healthy offensive line going into the year different than last year. That certainly helps. It's a high-level offensive line. But this offense, within itself, is built around the running game, and you'll hear this term throughout the year, the marriage between the run and the pass, right? And so what that means is that at the line of scrimmage, these are supposed to look the same. The play action is a big part of it, obviously. And so in order for this offense to be successful, you need a successful running game, and then you build the passing game off of that.
Zach, when you talk about, also when it comes to the offensive line, I thought it was very interesting what Jordan Mailata said yesterday after the second joint practice, saying that, hey, some of this, it's about him and Lane, the old linemen, that they basically have to make sure that they are on the same page as much as the new offense. I think it's an interesting wrinkle to add in, Zach, because, how many times have we all talked about Jalen Hurts in the new offense and Devontae Smith in the new offense? But it hasn't been talked enough about the offensive linemen and their role in an offense as being asking them to do something different than years past.
Yeah, it's a big deal for them. I mean, it's the biggest change they've had really in over a decade. And we've talked about it quite a bit in terms of Lane Johnson has guard help. Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata have guard help for the first time in their career. In the wide zone running game, your landmarks are different. So in order to get wide, it looks different in terms of what's happening at the line of scrimmage. They want to play faster. You're not going to see as much chess playing, if you will, at the line of scrimmage. And it's always started with the offensive line. And frankly, I don't want to frame it like it's dramatically better for the offensive line because, I've covered the team for this is my 15th season. They're good years. They've had great offensive lines. Jeff Stoutland's the best position coach that I've covered during my time. So I don't want to frame it like everything's great with the offensive line right now. And it was really good before with the offensive line. But I think these changes in the system, to use Lane Johnson's words, is offensive line friendly.
So with Zach Berman from The Athletic joining us here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN at ZBerm on the X platform for all your Birds coverage. Zach, you mentioned about the offensive line. I was listening to Jason Kelsey. He was on Nick Foles' podcast the other day, and Kelsey brought up the fact that you mentioned about how what the offensive line did before, about how they did a lot of troubleshooting. Kelsey called it at the O line before, whereas now the offensive line is not asked to do as much thinking, as much work before the snap. How much do you think that is also potentially going to help the rest of the offense execute that maybe, I'm not trying to cast any aspersions, but there were times in the past, and I'm sure you saw it as well, that you almost felt like the team was overthinking offensively.
Well, that's what I was saying before about the chess playing, is that there's less chess playing at the offensive line. They want to be the aggressor. They want to get up there quickly. They want to snap the ball. They want the defense to react to them. And not to say one way is better than the other, but yeah, I do think that that's going to be a difference this year. Whether that is a good thing or bad thing, we'll see, because the key with that is you need to keep the defense guessing, right? And so that's where it all works together in terms of the running game, in terms of the play action, in terms of the motion that you're going to see. A lot of it is to force the defense to think for a moment. And the way it's kind of been with this offense in the past is more reacting to what the defense is, to try to create the perfect look based on what the defense is doing. And I don't think that's going to be the approach this year as much as it is get to the line, play fast, and try to get the defense to think for a moment.
Zach, take a moment to talk about, you mentioned about, guys in motion. Obviously, Mekhi Lemon's been injured. We really haven't seen much of him at training camp. Devontae Smith missed time with his own hamstring injury. So talk to the audience about the other guys, the Elijah Moores, the Hollywood Browns, the Darius Coopers, Davian Wicks. How have those guys looked, and what are realistic expectations for them?
Yeah, I'm going to Josh, if you're counting on those guys, now Davian Wicks is in a different category, right? So Davian Wicks is the top 3 receiver for an Eagles. He needs to have a productive season for the passing game to be good. But if you're counting on Darius Cooper, Hollywood Brown, Elijah Moore to be major parts of this offense, then I think that would be problematic for the offense. I don't think that's kind of the way that you're going to want to operate here. I think it's really going to be about the top guys. But because you asked down the depth chart, I think Darius Cooper had a really strong summer. He didn't play as well in that preseason opener, but he went from someone who was probably on the roster bubble who I think is on the 53 and is pushing to be a contributor.
Zach, you think about, the offense. I love how you wrote about Dallas Goedert, how he had such a huge role as a scoring option for the offense last year. And, I don't think, Dallas Goedert is coming back the way he did if he didn't want to be involved. He didn't want to play in this new offense. So what can we expect from Dallas Goedert in this season of the Eagles?
Yeah, Dallas has just been a really strong, solid player now going on, nearly a decade. And this is a tight end friendly offense. And I think they're going to rely on Dallas without AJ. I would say Dallas might be, the second target in the passing game after Devontae. Mekhi Lemon's in there as well. Davian Wicks is up there. But Dallas Goedert's got a major role in the passing game. And especially in the red zone, you saw that last year. And the offensive last year, they had their issues, but they were really good with red zone design, and they did a great job getting Goddard the ball. Goddard needs to stay healthy. Last year was the first time he played 15 games in, 4 years or so. So if he stays healthy, he's going to have a big role in this offense, and they need him to stay healthy because I'm not sure that the depth behind him is ready to take over in a pass-catching role.
Zach, let's go to the defense. I think one of the biggest topics coming out of this week was Vic Fangio admitting that there's no clue, there's no timeline for when Jonathan Grenard comes back. And that's a huge deal because they didn't just trade for this guy, but they gave him a big contract this offseason. So, what is the state of the edge rushers for the Eagles?
Well, the edge rushers are. I think they're fine without Grenard. They're much better with him, and it's not as if Grenard won't be back. It's just a matter of when and if week one is still the target. My view on Grenard, by the way, is what's most important is that he's healthy throughout the season, and that is that a tech injury for an edge rusher. If that's something that lingers throughout the year, that concerns me because it just makes you weaker, right? And so I would focus on really having Grenard at full strength, and the sooner that happens, the better. That should be the focus. But the edge rushers overall, because you ask, Jalen Hunt, he might have been the best player on defense this summer. He's been outstanding. I'm not going to say it's a breakout year because I thought he had a breakout year last year. He led the team in sacks and interceptions, but he can take it to another level this year. We'll see how Nolan Smith does. I think he needs to bounce back after last year. They have, they're number 3 and number 4 without Grenard. So your number 4 and your number 5 with Grenard. It's Arnold Epiketti and AJ Epineza, and these are two guys with a lot of experience, with starting experience. So they have good depth too. The key is you want that top of the depth chart player, and that's what Jonathan Grenard's paid to be. Although I think Jalen Hunt is really close to that. Jalen Hunt's just been awesome this summer.
Zach, what was your take on what Fangio said the other day about Jahad Campbell needing to get more reps? I want to get your perspective on that because I think a lot of our audience out there, I've been getting a lot of people calling, texting in this week, calling and saying, just give Jeremiah Trotter Jr. the job, So, what is your perspective on where Jahad Campbell is in this defense and your interpretation of Fangio's comments the other day?
I think they need Jahad Campbell to be a good player, and the athleticism that he has, the length that he has. He can be a special linebacker, and he has rare traits at that position. I think Fangio needs to see more from him. That's obviously why he played. I don't want to say he lost his job last year, but when the Kobe Dean came back, they put Kobe in. And I'm bullish on Jahad Campbell. I just think he needs to play. I think the more he'll be out there, the better. But I hear what people are saying about Trotter, and I like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He plays with really good instincts, but just athletically and size-wise, Campbell's just different. He's built different. He moves differently. And, I think you want Jahad Campbell to be your starter.
Zach, before we let you go, I want to get your perspective on the safety position because they've been giving Michael Carter a lot of opportunities to see what he can do at safety. Fangio made the comment the other day that they know who Epps is. They don't need to see a ton of him. So, what do you think the alignment of safety is going to be week one?
Yeah, I'm expecting to see Marcus Epps. Every day at practice, it's been Marcus Epps leading the way with the first team safety group. And so Michael Carter, they're giving him a lot of work, and I like what we've seen from Carter this summer. But the reality is, I think that's going to be Epps' job. And as far as the safeties overall, they need Drew. We talked about the second safety spot. The key for me is the first safety spot, and that's Drew Makuba. Like can Drew Makuba play like a number one safety? And that's more of the question that I have. I think you can get by with Marcus Epps. I've seen Marcus Epps be a starter on a Super Bowl defense. That was pre-injury. Even last year, post-injury, I thought he filled in well. He filled in fine for the Eagles. He's a solid starter for you. I think the question's what's Drew Makuba? And I don't have an answer for that right now. I don't think the Eagles do either. They're counting on him to be a plus starter. We'll see if he can be a plus starter. But I think that's more of the question at safety than how Marcus Epps looks.
He's Zach Berman. Check out all of his coverage over at The Athletic. Of course, if you're not subscribed to The Athletic, I recommend you should. That's what I do for all of my sports coverage. And, of course, Zach Berman can be followed at ZBerm on the X platform. And he joined us right here on 97.3 ESPN. Zach, good stuff. Keep up the great work.
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Josh, thanks for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN, the 3 o'clock hour of the Bash. being brought to you by Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Broadleaf's is your trusted source for heating and plumbing service, as well as air conditioner installation for generations. Give them a call, 609-390-3907, or visit them online at broadleaves.net. A couple takeaways I had from what Zach Berman had to say, then we'll check in on the White Horse RV text board at 609-403-0973. I think one of the larger points that I think Zach brought up is the fact that, because it's just there, this defense, for as much as we all believe it's going to be a high-level defense, whether Sal Palantonio said the other day with us here on 973 ESPN, the top 10 defense, or Chris Caney, who believes to be a top 5 defense on Sportsman like this the other day on 973 ESPN. Whatever your placement of the Eagles in the hierarchy, there are still some questions. You heard Berman put the fact that, he still believes in John Campbell. And I do too. I'm not one of these people who's ready to completely dismiss him. I just keep asking the question about Trotter Jr. because I'm glad our listeners are doing it as well. Is there a way to maximize having both Trotter and Campbell on the field? And it's probably easier said than done, but I do know that historically, Fangio's defenses have been built on the versatility of the linebacking position. So there has to be a way that if putting the best players on the field involves, in certain scenarios, having potentially both Campbell and Trotter, maybe there's a scenario where if you're going against a team that likes to run more 12 personnel, that likes to run the ball. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Chicago Bears a little bit later in the hour, but we know the Bears are a team that they play in week 3. The Bears love to run the ball, and the Bears ran all over you last year. Are the Bears a team that you can look at and say, you know what, we're going to have a little bit more Vaughn, Campbell, and Trotter all on the field together because we need to have those guys on the field to offset the reality that is a team in Chicago that loves to have 2 tight ends in the field, that loves to run the ball? Are you looking at a team, to use another example, like the Cowboys, when you face them twice a year? Are they a team that has shown you a lot of run and play action look? Can you get away with having the linebackers on the field to handle the tight ends and the running backs in those situations? I'll even throw in there a little bit later in the year, we know the Giants. They get a fullback now. The Giants are going to want to run the ball. Are you going to look at situations with Campbell and Trotter on the field together with Vaughn in those games? That's potentially 5 games where you might see more 3 linebacker looks instead of 2 this year. So that's an interesting conversation we can have moving forward. And then on the offensive side of the ball, you heard Zach bring up multiple times the running game. I'm going to be curious to find out, do the Eagles run the ball maybe a little more than we expect? And are they a team that becomes a team that uses the run to set up the pass? Historically, guys like Andy Reid and Doug Peterson used the pass to set up the run. The best years of the Nick Sirianni era are when they were leaning heavier on the run and it helped set up play action. Have we leaned so much into the idea of Jalen Hurts, how his passing and how his throws are going to be? Are we forgetting that maybe the real reason why they're under center more is because they're going to run the ball at a high level? Something to think about for the Birds heading into the 2026 season. I did want to get to one text from the White Horse RV text board at 609-403-0973. Terry in Galloway says, I would take a step further what you said earlier. I would not play my starters at MetLife Field regardless of the situation ever. I also think that people make too big deal of putting things on tape. All these coaches have worked together at some point. Everyone has an idea what everyone is doing, says Terry in Galloway. Well, a couple of things there, Terry. One, you're 100% right about the MetLife Stadium. I will never understand why these NFL owners are so lazy. This is $1 billion business. Just make it grass. Enough with the lousy turf at MetLife. You saw them putting grass for the FIFA World Cup. Just leave the grass. Talk to FIFA. Find out how they make the grass easy to maintain. Do whatever you got to do. And this idea that the NFL and Roger Goodell and the league offices have not gone to the Mara family and the Tips family and said, enough is enough. We've seen a gazillion injuries on this turf, from Aaron Rodgers to Saquon Barkley to numerous others. Enough of your stupid turf. Get rid of it. Terry Galloway, you're 100% right about that. We'll get to more of your texts throughout the hour on the Whitehorse RV text board, 609-403-0973. Of course, Whitehorse RV Centers in Williamstown and Galloway. Your RV adventure starts here at Whitehorse RV. Text board is open at 609-403-0973. We're also streaming live on YouTube and X at 973 ESPN. Coming up on the other side, we'll talk to Bob Wankel about the Phillies. Big weekend for the Phillies versus the Cardinals. We'll get Bob's thoughts on it. More host of the Fighting Words Phillies podcast, Bob Wankel, joins us next on Happy Hour Friday edition of the Sports Bash on 973 ESPN.
With GMO financing to qualify buyers exclusive.
Town Square Media has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible offers from some fantastic local businesses. Get this great deal right now. Get one $50 gift card for just $25 to the Island Grill in Ocean City. It's the area's go-to restaurant for fresh catch local seafood with a laid-back beach vibe. That's a $50 gift card for just $25. Get this great deal right now at seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Never thought this radio stuff would catch on so big.
On 97.3 ESPN.
Broadly Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Call 609-390-3907 or visit them online at broadleys.net.
Let's get back to the Phillies conversation now, as the Phillies have an important weekend with the Cardinals. Of course, you can also hear Phillies Cardinals tomorrow night on our sister station, Rock 104.1. Phillies Cardinals tomorrow night. Coverage begins at 6 o'clock because we will have the Eagles tomorrow night, preseason game number 2 here on your home for Eagles football in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. Co-host of the Fighting Words Phillies podcast is Bob Wankel. He joins us throughout the year on Fridays on the Sports Bash. But instead of a Mike and Bob Phillies baseball chat, it's a Bob and Josh baseball chat. I know it doesn't have the same ring, but Bob Wankel still joins us here on 97.3 ESPN. Bob, welcome back in. How you doing today?
What's up, Josh? How are you? I think the Josh and Bob works just fine, personally.
Is it Josh and Bob or Bob and Josh?
Nah, I'd let you take the lead on it. You're the guy here.
All right. I mean, I feel like Bob and Josh is a little more alliteration possibilities. So,
all right. I'll give you that.
Or you just like the acronym of JB sounds better.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, I would say yes. Yes, you got
This is a family show. Sorry, my bad.
You win.
Bob, looking at this weekend, I think one of the interesting conversation points is you just played the Cardinals and you struggled to score against them. Now, all of a sudden, over this run of games and sweeping the Twins, sweeping the Marlins, the offenses come alive. And do we expect the offense to continue this run against a bunch of no-name pitchers this weekend who you just struggled against last week?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Phillies, obviously have been a little bit better overall lately, led by the offense. This is a team that you struggled with here recently, and you kind of owe them one this weekend, and it certainly sets up favorably with Luzardo tonight, Sanchez on Sunday, and obviously you don't know what you're going to get tomorrow night with Painter, but they've worked their way back into the fringe of a division race here, and Atlanta has to deal with Milwaukee this weekend, which is a tough matchup. Phillies, I think, have an advantageous setup here. And you'd like to see them kind of keep their foot on the gas a little bit and keep this thing rolling. Overall, since they've made this Arise trade, they've scored the 6th most runs. They lead baseball in walk rate. They're 3rd in batting average, tops in the National League, 2nd on all base percentage, 6th in OPS. They've taken advantage against of some mediocre pitching that they've had to face, but they've been pretty consistently good in terms of generating runs here lately, and they have to try to keep it going this weekend.
Just very convenient or inconvenient, depending on who you ask, Bob, that you're facing the same 3 pitchers you faced last week in St. Louis. Your starters struggled against Dobbins, then got to the Cardinals bullpen. They struggled against Leahy and never bounced back. So it's like you're going into this weekend. It's like, well, can these guys learn something? Like maybe this is like the ultimate, litmus test, right? To say, hey, this offense really that improved. Let's see if you learned anything from doing what the Phillies typically do in recent years, Bob, which is, hey, if it's a pitcher that the average fan has no idea who it is, I guarantee you they're going to struggle.
Yeah, it does certainly feel like it's kind of gone that way. Now, obviously, they've seen a guy like Sandy Alcantara a million times over the years, but he's a guy that they recently had some struggles with and then came back and, got it done against the other night. Not that they exploded offensively, but they at least were able to be productive enough to get another win. So, yeah, I mean, look, are they going to go crazy this weekend and score 8 runs a game? Probably not, but you'd like to think that second time around, quick turnaround. These guys are decent arms, but they're not, these are not elite arms that they're seeing here. And you'd think that they maybe would be set up to have a little bit more success this time around.
Bob Wankel joining us for the Fighting Words Phillies podcast, joining us here on a Friday edition of the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Speaking of Painter, how big is this game for him? Because I feel like we're going to learn a lot about him the rest of this month. I mean, my hope for him is that he can maybe be for the Phillies in the postseason, whether like a Sasaki was last year for the Dodgers, but he got to get there first. He got to show for the next few weeks that he has stabilized what he can be in order for us to believe in him as a bullpen arm in the postseason. Right, Bob?
Yeah, I think that's right on. And look, obviously there had been some positive developments with him since he had come back up. He was very good against the Cardinals when he last faced them. That was probably the high watermark of his season, quite honestly. Last time out against Minnesota, he really struggled in the first inning. He had no command whatsoever. He puts him in a huge hole right away. And I'm in no way, shape, or form looking to really give him credit for how he threw the ball last Sunday. But there are, a couple things that I think are somewhat notable about it. As bad as that first inning went, and I mean, it was as bad as it could possibly be. He's able to rebound and get them through the fifth inning and give them a chance to fight their way back into the game. And they obviously go on to win it. And like when you're looking at a young pitcher who is going through it, has really struggled overall, you do look for little things that you can sort of latch onto and say, hey, that's a win. And I mean, that thing could have completely unraveled on him and he could have been out of the game in the second or third inning. And that's not what happened. So, look, do I want to give him credit for that? Like overall, his performance, not really. But like, I do think that you have to look at that and say, okay, like that might be a step in the positive direction. And then also, depending on where you look, there were some metrics that suggested that was probably about as good as his fastball's been in terms of overall stuff so far this season. And you wonder if that carries over into this start. And it's an important one for him in that as well. Not only are you looking to see, can he contribute in a playoff situation should you get there, but, they go out and they add Nestor Cortez this week. And I think there's a few different ways that you could look at that. This bullpen is very vulnerable. Could Nestor Cortez be a guy that works multiple innings for you if everything goes well? Possibly. Could you go to a six-man rotation? Should you solidify a wild card spot and sort of fall out of the NL East? Possibly. But if Andrew Painter goes out and is going to light every game on fire, 2 out of every 3 times he takes the ball, then do you simply replace Andrew Painter with Nestor Cortez? So, as you get into September. So there's a lot of different ways that deployment of Nestor Cortez can go. And I think Andrew Painter to some degree dictates that.
Yeah, and I think that the other part of it is, and I know it's not a direct correlation, but the revival of Aaron Nola as a competent, dependable starter, I think probably helps the conversation too, that you're not dreading every time Nola comes to the mound because 8 of his last 9 starts, he's given you some good outings. So now when you look at, Wheeler and Sanchez maybe being quote unquote tired from a long season and Andrew Painter, what he is or isn't now, at least you look at Nola and you're not sweating bullets every time he comes to the mound.
Yeah, I mean, look, over his last 7 starts since the All-Star break, he's gone 40 innings. He's allowed 40 hits, 16 earned runs, 11 home runs. So it's all the damage is coming on the home run. 44 strikeouts to 15 walks, 3.6 ERA. I mean, that's pretty good for a number 4 starter. Obviously, the season overall has been a little bit of a disappointment, but he's really given them a boost here over the last month and a half to 2 months. And you're in a position right now where you feel like every time you touch the field, you have a shot to win. You don't feel great about Andrew Painter. You're probably still not ultra confident in Aaron Nola, despite this little resurgence here. But more often than not, you go out there and you feel like they can win a baseball game tonight if they show up. Whereas earlier in the season, 2 out of every 5 guys taking the ball, you felt like we are not going to win tonight. And so the Phillies are in a nice little situation here. Obviously, Christopher Sanchez he's been good. He's limited damage, but he doesn't quite look like Christopher Sanchez. He's been a little bit inefficient with his pitch volume. And Zach Wheeler has gone through it here for the last 4 or 5 starts now. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Nola has been critically important in getting the Phillies back on track and really having them sort of gain their footing after what was a pretty rough stretch coming out of the All-Star break.
I've got a lot of questions this week, speaking of the pitching, about Zach Wheeler, and people are trying to figure out, is it just a long season or should we be actually concerned about Zach Wheeler?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, I always say if you give me Zach Wheeler going into any situation, I'm going to feel good about it no matter what, just in terms of how consistently excellent he's been, his mentality, and all of those things. That said, right now, you don't feel great about Zach Wheeler in the moment. And it really, I think you have to keep in mind age is a part of this. He's coming off of a significant injury. And I think that we tend to overlook that a little bit just because he was so good right out of the gate coming back. But you do wonder at this point in the season if there's a little bit of a fatigue element to it. And I mean, you really dial in on those last two starts in particular. He wasn't super sharp against the Cardinals, but through 4 innings, he kind of held him at bay. And in the 5th, things unraveled on him a little bit. And, the other night against the Marlins, he was pretty good through 4 innings. In the 5th, he gets the first 2 outs, but it takes him 18 pitches to do it. A ton of foul balls, deep counts. And then, he gives up a couple hits in a row and they get the final out of the inning at second base and he gets out of it there. But it looks like to me right now he's pulling some of his pitches. He just doesn't have the same command. And I don't know if part of that is simply mechanical or if, you're sitting high 94, low 95. It's not 96, 97 like we're accustomed to seeing with him. And I just wonder if he's a little bit apprehensive about being in the zone as much as he usually is. And so I think it might be a combination of factors. But, still, if you ask me to bet on will Zach Wheeler get it together and sort of figure it out, I would say yes. But certainly right now he is not himself.
Well, I go back to, you mentioned those 2 starts, but mentally, at least for me, Bob, I mentally go back to the Blue Jays game, the one before those 2, because there was that moment in the game early on, remember, or like it was like 2nd or 3rd inning, whatever it was, where, you had the Blue Jays coach get thrown out of the game. And, and you see Zach, bleep you, to the coach, and he's getting thrown out of the game because of the whole rubber situation. Oh, he's on the rubber, right? And so I almost wonder, did that maybe get in his head? Like, did the whole, like, where is he standing on the rubber get in his head? Because historically, if you would have showed me that clip in like 2023, 2024, I would have been like, I bet you Zach Wheeler went 7 innings and struck out 12 guys after he said bleep you. But in 2026, I almost wonder, did it maybe get in his head a little bit?
Yeah, what's interesting about that? I mean, the moment he said that is when it fell apart in that game. I mean, like you would think, oh, now you fired up Zach Wheeler. Good luck.
Right.
And instead, it sort of got away from him. And it's uncharacteristic to see that. And frankly, it's uncharacteristic to see Zach Wheeler respond in that fashion. And even after the game, he had made a comment, I'm paraphrasing, but something along the lines of, well, they haven't done a lot of winning over there this year, so they're probably upset about that. And I've covered Zach Wheeler. I've stood in front of Zach Wheeler many times after his starts, and he's a guy that typically does not, at least publicly, at least to the media, express himself to that level. So it was a little bit interesting. Prior to that, and including the Blue Jays start, you would have said, okay, he had a great start out of the gates in the second half against the Dodgers, went 7 innings. He allowed 2 earned runs. He was really good. The next start was down in Miami where he had nothing. The velocity was way down. He was out of the game after 3 innings. Then he comes back against the Orioles. Game gets, rain delayed, and he only goes 2 innings, but he looked sharp early in that. And then the Blue Jays game, Chase Utley night, and the rain delay. And like everything had just kind of been off with him. A lot of stopping and starting, and like, the starts were disjointed. So you go, okay, well, maybe it's some of that. But now you're here, and you kind of say to yourself, like, all right, it's been about 5 starts now. It's not 2 with rain delays and special circumstances. This is like a little bit more of a concern. So these next couple starts for him are going to be big, and I think it's going to really affect, the mindset of the fan base as they go into September about this team's ability to compete.
Back up to what you said about Wheeler. He's been doing a lot more talking in general after games this year. Why do you think that is? Is that kind of like him facing baseball mortality with the whole thoracic outlet thing last year? Or is it just a guy getting older, just saying, bleep it, I don't care anymore? Like, I just want to talk, and who cares what I say? Like, what is your read into that?
I know that one of the things that you guys like when I come on the show is that I'll usually give you an elongated answer, but I just think the answer quite simply is both. I think it's both the things that you just said. I think he's a guy that I think realizes that his time in the sport is coming to an end soon. And I think that he's just more like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to say how I feel, and I'm cool with that. And I think that's exactly what it is.
Looking into the bullpen, Bob, I think one of the big moments that happened the other night was when Brandon Marsh caught that ball on the foul line that ball, he could have let it go. It could have just been a foul ball, whatever. But he went and got that. When the camera panned back to Bolin, the look of relief on his face was very obvious to me. Like Bolin looked like he almost looked like he was like one bad pitch away from being the sweating bullets meme or gif, and it's like, I almost wonder, Bob, did that moment in the game, was that a moment where Bolin was like, all right, I got this? Could that maybe be a positive for him moving forward for a guy who's really never been asked to pitch this many high leverage innings before?
Yeah, obviously he's been one of the, if really outside of Duran, the only pleasant surprise in the Phillies bullpen this year. But he's kind of felt his way through things this week. He had a rough appearance. I believe it was Monday night's game. They all kind of just blend together for me. But then he comes back and again was kind of fighting himself a little bit. And you go, man, if it doesn't work with Jonathan Bolin, this team's in a lot of trouble. And I do think that was a situation where he was able to relax a little bit and, he's able to bear down after that. And you hope that kind of carries over and gets him back on track because he's been so good and he's been really good at attacking the zone and being efficient. And it's kind of gotten away from him a little bit over the last couple games.
So moving forward, what do you think this bullpen, okay, two different questions, maybe we could blend into one. What is the Phillies bullpen and what should be the Phillies bullpen moving forward?
Oh, the Phillies bullpen is bad. I don't think that there's really any other way. I don't think there's really any other way to describe it. I mean, frankly, you can look to things and try to latch onto them and say, this gives me some hope. Like, for instance, one of the issues for Ryan Kerkering this year, other than fielding balls hit back to him, it's just he's not throwing enough strikes. He's not in the zone enough. And he really struggled with that in June and July. But in August, he's made 9 appearances, 7 2/3 innings, and he's only walked 1 batter. So, like, if you're looking for something positive, you'd say, okay, well, you know what? Maybe he's figuring something out again. But the bottom line is, Jose Alvarado and Ryan Kerkering are probably your 2 primary setup guys right now. And since the All-Star break, they have a combined 5.47 ERA. And it's just really hard to imagine making the playoffs is one thing, but doing anything in the playoffs against better teams, it's very hard for me to wrap my head around the idea that Ryan Kerkering and Jose Alvarado are probably your 2 highest leverage arms. And I understand that, outside of Jonathan Bolin, that should go, I guess be assumed at this point. And Brooks Raley's a guy, he's a veteran that can get guys out from the left side. And he's been okay against righties this year, but that's not a guy that you say like, hey, like it's the 7th, 8th inning in a big spot, it's lights out either. So you kind of have to hope that you're getting something more out of McFarland here. The early returns have been interesting. He struggles with his command a little bit, but in the next 6 weeks, can he get to a place where he's able to take a big step forward? Like, you better hope so. I mean, this bullpen is just thin. And, there's this idea, could Gage Wood be brought up here at some point? Like, I don't know. I guess I would doubt it. Does Andrew Painter take down innings for you in a playoff series? Does Jesus Luzardo sort of do the hybrid thing, the way that we saw it against LA? Like, there's ways that you can navigate it in the playoffs, but just night in, night out, going through the grind, this bullpen's going to lose some games for them going down the stretch. There's no question.
Bob, before I let you go, you mentioned about Nestor Cortez a little bit earlier. What is the Phillies' obsession with going to the discount rack at Marshall's every July and August? I don't understand this. It feels like every year it's this year's Nestor Cortez. Before it's been Walker Buehler. Maybe years past they traded for Michael Lorenzen, right? It's like, what is up with this? Hey, we should have gotten pitching earlier in the year, but because we didn't, who is the cheapest random dude we could find possible to throw in there and hope for the best?
Yeah, look, I mean, at the deadline, I really felt like what they had done was fine, but the biggest priority to me was adding another high leverage reliever. But I also understood the need to add to this rotation and just get yourself some level of insurance. There's guys like Brady Singer, right, who are 5-inning, 3-earned, 4-earned run guys every time out. I'm like, does he make you an infinitely better team in terms of win-loss at the end if everybody stays healthy? Probably not, but he's really more there to just eat innings and be an insurance policy. Now, the starting pitching market was pretty pricey. And if you want to talk about where the Phillies farm system's at, did you want to go out and give away your 11th best prospect for Brady Singer or somebody of that caliber? Like, probably not. And so, yeah, I mean, like, could they have gone out and done a Robbie Ray, who's also not been great? Like, sure, they probably could have gotten involved in that. There were guys out there to be had, but I just think that they didn't want to pay the prospect price, and they probably figured we have our main guys, our top 3 guys. If one of them gets hurt, we're in a lot of trouble anyway. So this is more about depth and adding to the fringes, and this is the direction they took. I'm not telling you that that's what they should have done, but like, I guess that's the case you can make for it. Like, if we're just adding an insurance policy, then why give up prospect capital to do it?
He's Bob Wankel. Check out the Fighting Words Phillies podcast for all your Phillies coverage. Of course, Bob joins us every Friday here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. And Bob, it is Happy Hour Friday. What are you cracking open this weekend?
It's an IPA Friday, Josh. We're gonna have about 3 to 4 IPAs between the 5 and 7 o'clock hours, and recover and be off to bed by 10. I'm an old man. I got 2 little kids. I'm 40 years old. I just don't have a lot of juice right now, man.
And yet somewhere Trevor Wallace is shaking his head at you.
Yeah.
Bob, take care of yourself, all right?
Say it.
Josh, I think Philly for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. That's one of those inside. If anyone's ever watched Trevor Wallace, the Instagram social media comedian, he became famous for his rant, and part of one of his videos, he basically ripped people for drinking IPAs. So that's the inside joke. If you don't know, now you know. All right, try to fill you guys in on the inside joke here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, coming up on the other side on Sportsman-like moment of the day. It has to do with the Chicago Bears. What does it mean for the Philadelphia Eagles? We'll hear that coming up next here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
The Birds are back. Catch Philadelphia Eagles preseason football as the Eagles get ready for the 2026 season, heading to Foxborough to face the AFC champion Patriots. Tomorrow night, pregame coverage starts at 6 with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 7.
He takes his drop. He's looking. He's grabbed. They're going to sack him and throw him down at the 23-yard line. Jalen Carter.
This is South Jersey's radio home of the Philadelphia Eagles. 97.3 ESPN.
When adventure is calling, turn to the experts at Whitehorse RV Center. For over 50 years, families and adventurers have trusted Whitehorse RV to find industry-top brands and the floor plans that fit every lifestyle. From travel trailers with bunk beds and outside kitchens to motorhomes and destination trailers. Whether you're hitting the open road or planning a local campground getaway, it's about experience, selection, and people who care. See why generations have answered the call with Whitehorse RV Center, because your RV adventure starts here.
common misconception around a Ben offense is that it's this high flying trick play machine. And yes, there are pieces of that are very true and hold true throughout a 17 game regular season. The bread and butter of this unit, of this team, is the run game. He takes so much pride in that. So when it doesn't work, like what we saw at the beginning of last season, he becomes obsessed with trying to fix it. And in order for that to happen, it's also got to be on the defensive side of the ball. And he said that too, but sometimes as an offensive coach, you're so wrapped up in what you're doing. And that makes sense because Caleb Williams taking that jump in year 3 in the NFL is dependent upon what's going on around him, which is dependent upon the run game, the nuts and bolts of this team. They just made Darnell Wright the highest paid right tackle in football.
Courtney Cronin this morning on Sports, like heard 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern on 973 ESPN. When I heard that this morning, I was thinking about what this means for the Eagles. There were two big thoughts. One you heard me kind of a little bit earlier, the idea that the Bears would have run the ball. Do the Eagles and Vic Fangio counter that this year by saying, you know what? You ran all over us last year. We're going to attack you and force you to beat us with Caleb Williams throwing from the pocket. That's number one. Does that mean more Jahad Campbell and Jeremiah Trotter on the field together? Does that mean more big D lines with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Moro Ojomo on the field all at the same time? The other point that I took away from that was, she talked about how a lot of times offensive coaches talk about wanting to have more big plays, more explosive offenses, scoring more points. Ben Johnson made the comment he wants to score the most points in NFL history this year. But he wants to run the ball. Could that be a huge key to the Eagles' offense? New offensive coordinator Sean Mannion. Big, fast-paced, high-energy, explosive potential offense this year. But could the real bread and butter be, hey, Saquon, you want to rush for 2,000 yards again to help us have a more explosive passing offense? Something to think about. On Sports Like Her from 6 a.m. 10 a.m. Eastern here on 97.3 ESPN Monday through Friday. Coming up next, Andrew DeCecco for today's Football at 4.
home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. Podcast.
We're never satisfied. That hunger for more. That hunger for more. I have it. Everyone has it.
Now live, this is Football at 4.
Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, and is always brought to you by Ocean Casino Resort, the Fanatics Sportsbook, and the Gallery Bar. Booking games is Ocean's go-to game day destination with huge screens, great drinks, and all the sportsbook action you want. It's the perfect place to catch every play and celebrate every win. And today we are celebrating the wrapping up of the week. Eagles joint practices. We talked with Adam Caplan the last couple of days live from Foxborough. And today we have Andrew the Checker, who was also at the joint practices. So we got a lot to recap ahead of tomorrow's preseason game number 2. And Andrew is back with us here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Andrew, welcome back in. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing good, and I feel like we have so much to get to, so I wanted to start with this. You know, for you looking at those 2 days of joint practices, I got to get your reaction to what Jordan Mailata said yesterday, because he talked about, and we played the audio, how he said that, you know, day 1 was a pretty good day for them, but day 2, they did a little too much boxing and not enough football. So for you, what were the big contrasts for you between day 1 and day 2?
Yeah, so on day 1, I thought they got a lot of really quality work in. That's not to say that they didn't on day 2 as well, but day 2 was noticeably more chippy. And you could tell from the beginning of practice, Josh, that the energy and intensity was ramped up. And I think the Eagles really brought the juice that day. Particularly, I noticed it on the defensive side. Ramondre Stevenson, the Patriots running back, gets downhill, gives a little extra, lowers his shoulder on Budejen. I think Elijah Vera Tucker, the guard, throws a little extra shot in there, and Nolan Smith took exception to it. Andre Sam put a nice stick on Ramondre Stevenson. Zach Bond popped Travion Henderson along the sideline. I was really focused on the defense yesterday, but on the offensive side, there was a scuffle, a couple of them as well. So, yeah, I could see where Jordan's coming from. And sometimes when you're facing a team for the second day, it was much hotter the second day. At least it felt more humid. It just felt like it was bound to happen. But I thought the Eagles made a statement from early in practice that they were there to bring it, and I thought that they did a nice job.
Speaking of the defense, I want to get your perspective on Vic Fangio made the comment earlier in the week about Jihad Campbell, about how you and I talked about Campbell a little bit last week, about this is a guy who, because Nakobe Dean came back last year, that he, you know, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, was a little bit behind the 8 ball in terms of his development and understanding the defense. Where do you think Jihad Campbell is at the end of this week, heading into the rest of this month?
Well, he was a first-round pick last year, so he's going to be starting. But Vic Fangio alluded to a couple of mistakes that Jihad made in the game, and I think that if all things were going well, he wouldn't be playing in the preseason game. And Jeremiah Trotter Jr., conversely, has had a nice training camp. Now, Jihad Campbell, let's be clear, is going to be the starter, but I almost wonder if there's a world where Trotter Jr. can factor in situationally, and that's something that Adam Caplan and I were talking about. He posed that question to me the other day. But I also am a little curious at the reasoning there, because Vic and Nick Sirianni have both mentioned that he needs reps and every situation's different. But Drew Makuba, his season ended in November. He had the fractured ankle. Him and Jihad Campbell played almost the same amount of snaps. They started both 10 games apiece, and Drew Makuba did not start in that game. So it was a little curious to me, and I think that they really want to see Jihad work through some things. That was just my initial read on the whole thing. There have been moments where you can see the athleticism flash in practice. I think he's been really active, but I'm also not in the meeting rooms, and I don't know, I'm not privy to any of the mental mistakes or miscues that could be taking place. And so I think they're telling you with their actions that they just want to see a little bit more from him, and that's why he played last Saturday.
And when you talk about situationally, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So just to give you the opportunity to clarify. So, like, for example, when the Eagles play teams that maybe are more run-based teams, like, are you talking about maybe getting Campbell and Trotter on the field together? Are you talking about maybe finding opportunities for them to have, different roles and different looks? Like, is that what you're talking about when you're talking about getting those guys more opportunities?
Opportunities to get him on the field in a game and situational, whether it's short yardage, whether it's certain down and distances that maybe Jeremiah Trotter Jr. might execute it a little bit better. Maybe he sees it a little bit quicker, play recognition, ability to diagnose. I just think that I know that Vic Fangio does not traditionally rotate linebackers, but when you have someone like Trotter Jr., who has had a good camp, he had a good camp last summer, and there's different things that he brings from an intangible standpoint that I think that they could incorporate into the defense and maybe add another layer to it. But make no mistake about it, Jihad Campbell was drafted in the first round for a reason. He brings you a certain unique athletic traits there that maybe you're not really going to find around the NFL. I think he's very much so the modern day NFL linebacker in terms of his movement ability. But there's more to it than that, and that's why I think the Eagles kind of have the best of all worlds with those three linebackers.
Talk with Andrew. Check out today's Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Check out all of his coverage of the Birds over at InsideTheBirds.com. Andrew, you mentioned Andrew Bakuba a moment ago. Talk to us about safety. What were you observed from the joint practices at safety? Because Fangio, he did talk about guys like Michael Carter and others during his presser this week.
What were my impressions?
On safety.
Yeah, I mean, look, Marcus Epps has been the front runner, and that's been something that's been a common theme throughout training camp. And for everything that Marcus Epps brings, he's a steady, consistent player, very instinctive, high football IQ, but he's not one that's going to typically make the big play. But he gives you a certain level of stability there, whereas Michael Carter is new to the position. But Michael Carter, I would argue, elevates the ceiling of the defense because he's around the football a lot. He gives you certain traits that maybe you otherwise wouldn't have from that position, meaning short area quickness, eye discipline, ability to break on the football. Some of his traits that carried over from him being a high-end nickelback where he was with the Jets, where he was once the highest paid nickelback in the NFL. I just think that he brings a little something different. And the way that the NFL is trending, the modern era, you need to have safeties that allow you to be multiple and they can cover some ground and allow you to do some different things defensively. I think Michael Carter has probably had a slightly better summer, I think is fair to say. That's not to say that Marcus Epps has had a bad summer, because just because you haven't seen him make a lot of plays, that's not always the biggest indicator. He's always seems to be in the right place. He's not giving up big plays. And I think there's a lot of trust there when it comes to Vic Fangio in Marcus Epps. But I think Michael Carter is an interesting player because he does have the range. Now, sometimes his versatility may work against him because he wears three different hats. And so he's someone that you can deploy in a number of different ways. And I think that they're going to find a way to get him on the field.
Andrew, one more on the defensive side of the ball. Talk to us about your observations from joint practices when it comes to the edge rushers and the D line. Obviously, Jonathan Grenard, we don't know when he's coming back. So without him, a lot of focus and curiosity is about who is the guy is going to be outside of Jalix Hunt. We know Hunt has popped. He has developed well. But what of the other guys are you looking at, and what have you observed?
Yeah, well, outside of Jalix Hunt, I think Nolan Smith has had a good training camp. It's been quiet, but he's been effective. He's a violent edge setter. He's added weight and strength to his frame. And I think that he's provided some good pressure in practice. He brings a lot of intensity. I think he's kind of growing into more of a leadership role. And he's healthy. Most importantly, he's healthy at the stage of the game, which is incredibly important for him because injuries have kept him from, I think, reaching his fullest potential. And I think he's had a nice camp. Then beyond that, you have AK Ebiketie, goes by AK, and they have AJ Epinesa. And Ebiketie is someone that I've taken notice of. He's done some good things in terms of just setting the edge. I think he's shown some juice as a pass rusher in different circumstances, and he's played a lot of football. He had some juice there. Then you have someone like AJ Epinesa, who's played a lot of football. He's being asked to do things that he hasn't had to do before, but he's working through some things. And if you listen closely and pay attention to what Vic Fangio says, you'll hear that he seems intrigued with the player, and his body type, Josh, is different from the other players in that room. He's more of a bigger bodied run defender type, and he does bring a little bit of an edge to him. I like the way that he plays the game. I remember talking to Josh Wayru, the Eagles rookie free agent, in his first ever NFL game, talked to him afterwards, and he said that in the first or second play of the game, when he watched A.J. Epinesa set the edge, he said to himself, oh, okay, it's on now. The game's on. So that tells you the kind of player that he is and the way that he plays the position. I think he adds a different dimension to that edge rusher group.
You just mentioned about how Fangio has talked about A.J. Epinesa. Can we hit on that real quick? Because you talked about earlier about how, hey, Jeremiah Trotter might be a guy who gets play action in certain matchups, certain situations. Is Epinesa potentially could maybe be that kind of guy too, where if you're facing certain teams with certain formations or certain situations in a game, that he could be a valuable piece for Fangio to deploy defensively?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know that they're going to want to expose him too much in coverage. He's never had to cover a wheel route before prior to last Saturday. But I would also counter that by saying that I think Nolan Smith is one of the better pound-for-pound edge defenders when it comes to defending the run. Very throwback. He's kind of like a throwback kind of player. And Jalen Hunt's really molded himself into an effective two-way player as well. So I think they have a lot of complementary pieces there. And yes, I do think that there's a world where Fangio, who can be creative in how he deploys his personnel, and get a guy like A.J. Epinesa, who's, again, played in over 90 games, I believe, in the NFL. So you got to find a way to incorporate him, but certainly not at the expense of your two top pass rushers, not including Jonathan Grenard.
Yeah, and not to get too far ahead of ourselves, Andrew, but, my mind, I'm thinking about the schedule this season, right? You're going to play a Bears team at Chicago this year. You're going to play different teams that are going to throw at you maybe some non-traditional formations or looks, or that might be scenarios where you might say, hey, if they're running 12 personnel or they're trying to run something different at us, there might be guys on Fangio's defense that he might say, you know what, in those matchups, this guy could be maybe more valuable than, let's say, against a team like the Rams might give you something different.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting way ahead of ourselves here. I think that there's a chance where somebody like that could see an uptick in snaps, but in terms of just taking on the lion's share for that particular game, that's not how Vic Fangio traditionally operates. But I think there's a world where you look at all the pieces that you have and you find a way to best optimize what they do well, which is what any good coordinator does. And Vic Fangio, in my estimation, is the best in the business. They're going to find a way to get everybody involved.
Speaking of getting everybody involved, let's hit the offensive side of the ball, Andrew. A lot of guys running a lot of different routes because of this training camp. Mekhi Lemon, Devontae Smith missed a lot of time. So what did you see from the guys who are wide receiver who are not named Smith and Lemon during the 2 days of joint practices?
Yeah, I thought Hollywood Brown emerged a little bit. He's had a quiet training camp. He hasn't really been used as a vertical threat, but he's found the soft spots in coverage. I think a play that really illustrates what he's been all about in his career was on Monday's practice. He caught a pass right in front of Tariq Woolen, and he had his back to him, but he had a really good feel for spacing and able to navigate that and pick up yards after the catch. I think the Eagles need to find a way to get him in space if they're not going to use him as a deep threat, which no team that he's been on has found a way to tap into that for whatever reason. But I thought he's emerged a little bit. He caught a nice pass for a touchdown with good coverage from Kindle Vildor, the cornerback for the Patriots, in a situational period. And he actually caught one before that he couldn't get his feet in, but Hurts went right back to the well. Elijah Moore missed the second practice with a neck injury, but prior to that, he's been someone that Jalen seems to have some trust in as a chain mover, not typically. I say typically because he caught a deep pass in that practice, but not typically as a big play guy, but more as someone who can effectively move the chains and keep the offense on schedule. And Darius Cooper's cooled off a little bit after a really hot start to training camp, didn't have a good preseason game. So of that group, I mean, there's a little bit to be desired. I mean, the Eagles just waived Johnny Wilson right as we got on this call, and that's a shame because Johnny Wilson's a player who I was curious to see how he would fit in this offense. I think the Eagles really liked him, but he's been sidelined with a knee injury. So I think their wide receiver depth, we're going to learn a lot about that over the next couple of weeks. Mekhi Lemon, needless to say, still needs to get he needs to catch up, and that's not going to be an easy task. But aside from those the top three receivers, I do have questions in terms of their depth.
No, and you should have questions. And yes, Johnny Wilson, waived with injured designations. What I'm reading, he'll revert to the injured reserve if he clears waivers. So that is definitely a shame, because now the Eagles are losing a guy who, people were very curious about seeing how he fit into this offense. But I guess that means just more opportunities for these other guys. Between the Hollywood Brown, Elijah Moore, Darius Cooper, do we anticipate all three of those guys to get significant action tomorrow night in preseason game number 2? And of those three, who are you most curious about for tomorrow night?
Well, we'll have to see about Elijah Moore, because as I mentioned, he had the neck issue that kept him out of day 2. But I am anticipating seeing a lot of Darius Cooper, a decent amount of Hollywood Brown. I mean, he only played 7 snaps. Him and Elijah Moore played 7 snaps in the preseason opener. There's not a lot more that they can learn about him. So you don't, and if you know that he's going to be on the roster, or if you have a pretty strong sense, I mean, it's $5 million guaranteed, pretty much gives you the answers to the test there.
Sure.
I don't know that you want to expose him to unnecessary risk, but there's other guys there. You have your Quez Watkinses, you have your Britton Coveys and other players. Hollywood Brown and the players that we talked about, really Hollywood Brown, they got a lot of quality work in the joint practices. So I don't know that you're going to see a lot of him, but in terms of like Darius Cooper and some of those other players, that's fair to expect.
Andrew, before I let you go, some of the reports coming out of the joint practice were about Jalen Hurts getting the ball to Saquon, to Will Shipley in different situations as outlets. What is your perspective on the running back's role? How is shaping up to look like in this offense?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because first off, I do want to mention that I know that training camp and preseason is a lot about finding out who's going to be the final pieces on the roster and the down the roster type of players, who's your sleeper. But I don't want to lose sight of the star players who are going to mean the most when the Eagles get into the regular season. And Saquon Barkley's had a really strong training camp. He showed good juice and burst. Really, he's no different than the player that he was since he's been here. But yes, both Saquon Barkley and Will Shipley caught the ball very effectively. Tank Bigsby, that's not necessarily his forte. I am curious to see if they choose to get him in the mix there as well. But I know with Will and Saquon, they're really lethal on those wheel routes. But it seems like we say this every summer, that they're going to be involved. And then when the regular season rolls around, it becomes an afterthought. But in this offense with Sean Mannion, which we don't have an entirely firm grasp on what we can fully expect, we have an idea. I would imagine that you want to have those built-in outlet options for your quarterback in a timing-based offense where you have to get the ball out quickly. Why not make life a little bit easier for your quarterback and have those built-in answers in terms of the running backs? But I don't think it's that the coordinators in the past haven't wanted it. Jalen Hurts has to be able to embrace it if that's something that Sean Mannion wants to do, because for whatever reason, every offense, every iteration of it year after year has not incorporated it. But I think in this particular circumstance, it makes a lot of sense.
For more Eagles coverage, go to InsideTheBirds.com. For all of Andrew Checo's coverage for you and Inside the Birds podcast. Like, subscribe, and download wherever you get your podcasts. And Andrew joined us here on a Friday edition of the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Andrew, happy hour Friday to you. Keep up the great work, my friend.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Again, Football at 4 is always brought to you by Ocean Casino Resort. The Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino's Gallery Bar Booking Games is the go-to game day destination with huge screens, great drinks, and all the sportsbook action you want. It's the perfect play to catch every play because those big screens and big bets, game day hits differently at Ocean Casino Resort. To learn more, visit theoceanac.com. And don't forget to check out their live entertainment, including coming up Sebastian Maniscalco, September 17th through 20th and 24th through 27th. All right, coming up on the other side, we will check back in on the White Horse RV text board at 609-403-0973. Plus, we will have our Phillies lineup today, and that is presented to you by Chachi's 13th Floor 609-403-0973. That's text board. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 973 ESPN FM, the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. And we are streaming live on YouTube and X at 973 ESPN.
LeBron James plays here.
Here's James for three. Got it. LeBron James knocks it down.
97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's radio home of the Philadelphia 76ers.
For over 135 years, First Bank of Sea Isle City has proudly served Cape May County. With a commitment to maintaining a hometown feel, we provide secure, convenient deposit and loan products every day. We're more than just a bank. We're a trusted community partner, offering personalized banking solutions that make life easier for local families of all ages. First Bank of Sea Isle City. Look for our lighthouse in your neighborhood and discover what makes us different.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
When you see this in your kitchen,
The stainless steel fridge is covered in fingerprints.
you hear this.
Leslie, people are going to think you were raised in a barn or by wolves or raised in a barn by wolves.
Fortunately, Wyman Stainless Steel 3-in-1 cleans, shines, and protects to give you the best shine. A spray and a wipe will have your fridge shining like a mirror.
Wow, my fridge looks brand new. Your fridge looks amazing, Leslie. Sorry, I was being a little dramatic earlier.
Your kitchen says a lot about you. Let it brag with Wyman.
Bird fans, don't fumble your game day spread. Whether you're hosting a party of 1 or a tailgate of 100, Markachi Meats in Vineland has got you covered. Load up on quality meats for your next watch party or tailgate and make your game day spread a win before kickoff. Check out their weekly specials at markachimeats.com or on their Facebook page. And join the Markachi Meats membership to get sale prices emailed right to you. Markachi Meats on North Del C Drive in Vineland and online at markachimeats.com. Your game day lineup starts here.
Hey, Birds fans, it's about that time. Football season's back, and Boardwalk Honda is giving you the chance to score big. Stop in and take advantage of game-changing savings all month long. Shop their lineup of new, pre-owned, and certified pre-owned Hondas. They have something for everyone, and credit problems are no problem, with over 25 financial lenders to get you approved and on the road to victory. Visit them in Egg Harbor Township or online at boardwalkhonda.com.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Go for the fun times and the tan lines. Experience an Atlantic City you never knew. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Take the winning drive to RK Kia of Vineland, where you get RK coverage, no charge. RK does it right. RK Kia of Vineland, myrkkia.com.
We have the perfect solution for sitting in traffic.
You come with me.
The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. 3 ESPN Global app.
Josh Hennig back here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. Try to bring you the Phillies lineup here on the Sports Bash. Of course, the Phillies lineup each day is brought to you by Chachi's 13th floor at Rapichi's. It's now open, and fantasy football season means it's time for you to book your fantasy football league draft at Chachi's 13th floor. For just $20, your draft package includes great food and cold beer. Chachi's 13th floor, proud partner of 97.3 ESPN. There are go-to places this year for the 97.3 ESPN Fantasy Draft. We'll be streaming that as well on YouTube and X. But until then, now is your chance to win a gift card to Villa Rapici by texting your name and where you're from. Now, the Phillies didn't score 13 runs this week. You still have a chance to win a $25 gift card. You text your name and where you're from, the 609-403-0973. Yes, $25 gift card to Villa Rapici. So text in 609-403-0973. So the Phillies lineup today is, well, predictable. And I say that kind of, crankily, but it's really not that bad. But it's Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Arias, Bone, Stott, Marsh, Realmuto, Crawford, with Jesus Luzardo on the mound. So pretty much the usual lineup they've been running out there. And I would say just get used to this lineup because the Phillies don't face a left-handed pitcher for another couple weeks. So all right-handed starting pitchers, you're probably going to see this lineup in some form or another pretty consistently for the rest of the Cardinals series and then for their road trip against the Mariners and against the Angels as well. So you probably won't see a major change in the lineup or any, the Edmundo Sosa, Derek Hills, those kind of guys starting until at least the Diamondback series. So that's number one. Number two, we talked about this a little bit earlier with Bob Wankel about the idea that the arrival of a Luis Arias has opened the door for a guy like Alec Bohm to re-find himself again. When you're not asking Bohm to be one of your four best hitters, which is he's not, he shouldn't be. On most teams, he wouldn't be. So now you're asking him not to be one of your best hitters. You're asking him to be a part of a larger collective lineup. That's probably a huge reason why he has bounced back the way he has. And so going into this weekend series with the Cardinals, which the Phillies do need to win 2 out of 3 to keep solidifying themselves where they are in the wild card standings. And also because you're going on a road trip and you're going to Seattle, to the Angels, to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Not exactly an easy road trip. I know the Mariners and Angels are not two of the best teams in baseball, but going on the road is not easy. So let yourself win some games at home, get yourself on a positive run, and now kind of propel yourself into a good rest of September to get ready for Red October. Speaking of the Phillies, I asked the question a little bit earlier in the show, and you guys can chime in on the text board at 609-403-0973, the White Horse RV text board. In Williamstown and Galloway, your RV adventure starts here at White Horse RV Centers, 609-403-0973. I asked earlier, what is your ranking of the Phillies uniforms? And I gave it away a little bit earlier. McGarry and I talked about it. I can't stand the Phillies Connects, number one. And number two, I'm not a fan of the cream uniform either. To me, I'm much a traditionalist. I love the red pinstripe. I am a huge fan of the Phillies red pinstripe. I always have. I always will. And so for me, I look at it as my personal ranking would be number one, the red pinstripe. Number two, I'd probably go with the powder blue. They haven't brought it back, but I would love to see the maroon P uniform make a return in some form or another. But without that returning, I do like the road grays. And Nick over on the YouTube stream chimed in a little bit earlier. He brought it up that I mentioned this earlier, and he seems to agree with me. He talks about on the YouTube stream about the red top getaway alternate. I'm with you, Nick. I think the fresh red top, especially when they have it on a getaway day or even when they go on the road. They did this a few times in the past where they've had road games where they wear the red like spring training top with the grays. I'm cool with that too. To me, anything that amplifies Phillies red or the maroon Phillies P, I'm on board with that. Anything that doesn't amplify those two, I don't like. I'm not a fan of it. So I see Nick on the YouTube stream hit me up on that. A couple texts coming in. We want to get to is 609-403-0973. Lots of messages coming in throughout the show about the birds. So we will get to those messages as well. But I do have Richie from Lily Harbor asking any updates on Mike Gill and his team. So Richie and Lily Harbor, for those who like yourself didn't get to hear Mike Gill, joined us yesterday. He called in live from Jamestown, New York yesterday here on the Sports Bash. If you didn't hear that conversation, you go hear the whole conversation over on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. But Mike Gill said, so now they're in the knockout round. They were able to grab the number one seed in the knockout round. So they play tonight at 7 p.m. This is the A-Shore team. And of course, if they win tonight, then they play again tomorrow. If they win tomorrow, they are in the finals on Sunday. Now, Mike Gill is returning on Monday for the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. So whether they win or not this weekend, he will return. It's just a question of, do they return champions or not? But that's the latest update on his baseball team. A couple messages coming in throughout the show about the Eagles and our expectations for them. One message coming in on the YouTube stream says, how healthy is the offensive line? That's a massive reason why the offense wasn't doing well last year. Well, the offense is healthy. I mean, the line is healthy right now. How healthy are they? I guess that's up to interpretation. Everything that I have heard and read, Lane Johnson is 100% back. Cam Jurgens, whatever the treatment he got for his injuries in South America seemed to have done wonders for him. So he's back fully healthy. And Landon Dickerson has talked about that it's the healthiest he's been in a couple of years. So the offensive line is healthy. Now the question is, what does that mean? What does that mean when it comes to the new offense? Well, the offensive lineman has said that this new system is actually easier on the O-line than the past system. So I would assume that between the health of the offensive line and an offensive system that makes it easier for them to do their job is probably a win-win for everybody with this offense. I see Angie and Tuckerton chiming in on the YouTube stream. She says, I took words out of my mouth regarding the Bears, Cowboys, and Giants. PTSD from last year, especially Black Friday. And I'm hoping Vic has some answers to stop those run games. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the show. I think where Jeremiah Trotter, AJ Epinesa, those guys are going to start seeing playing action against teams that have good run games. When you have guys who are very good at downhill attack, my perspective is I think that is where the value is going to be for those guys. So I think that the Bears, you heard Courtney Cronin say it in the last hour. She covers the Bears for ESPN.com. The Bears love to run the ball. So they love to run the ball. How do you counter that? Well, you get more bodies on the line. You get more bodies in the box. And it's not like Cole Kmet and Colson Loveland are like the greatest, receiving tight ends in the world. So you could ask a Zach Bond or potentially a Jahad Campbell to cover those guys in space. Or if you want to get creative, do you have Jilix Hunt drop in a formation here and there? Because he is very athletic. He used to play safety before he became an edge rusher. You could get creative with those games against the Bears. And I mentioned the Giants earlier. The Giants got a fullback now, okay? John Harbaugh, former Ravens head coach, brought Ricard from the Ravens to the Giants with him. So between Ricard and Scadaboo and them signing Najee Harris to their team, I expect the Giants to have a strong run game. Cowboys have an underrated run game. Javonte Williams played well last year. And if the Cowboys O-line can stay healthy, which they've had a lot of problems staying healthy in recent years, but if they can stay healthy, they have a very strong run attack as well. So I think that Angie Tuckerton is right. There's at least 5 games on this schedule for the Eagles where you got to deal with teams that like to run the ball. How do you handle that? I would say on top of those 5 teams, I am curious to see, do the Steelers end up running the ball more because Aaron Rodgers is getting older? Do the Seahawks keep running the ball the way they did without Kenneth Walker? What do the Rams do offensively this year with their run games? Because Kyron Williams got a ton of touches in the last couple of years. Do they keep running him until the wheels fall off or not? And of course, let's not forget, later in the season, I mentioned about Seattle, but don't forget week 17, the 49ers. If Christian McCaffrey is healthy and George Kittle is healthy, I know there's some what ifs, but still, if they are healthy, it is something to keep an eye on. Let's get in one more text on the White Horse RV text board. Another one coming in from Jeff in Ocean City at 609-403-0973. He says, I'm waiting on my itinerary for Nashville weekend with the Birds. I'm told thousands of Eagle fans are going to have a great weekend that weekend. Yes, so that is the weekend of the 20th. I mean, if I had to pick an away game, I would probably pick Nashville. I'm trying to think if there's another one on this schedule that I would go out of my way for. I mean, probably. I mean, Nashville probably is the most exciting because it is Nashville and there's a lot of things to do down there. I would say if you're someone who loves golf, you might want to do December 6th because that game is at the Arizona Cardinals. So if you're someone who loves golf, maybe that could be a good golf weekend for you. So that's something to think about. There's not a ton of great destination games. Like, I guess if you wanted to make a weekend of going to see a Cubs game and go see the Bears late September, that could be one trip for people. I feel like London's a commitment. You're either going on a London trip or or you just have zero interest, right? So it's 1, 2. I really only see 4 destination away games. It's pretty much it. Out of the entire 17 weeks, I only see 4. By the way, there is no Nuggets today. Nick Nuggets is on assignment today. He's got things going on. He texted me earlier today, confirming that he would be unavailable today. So no Knicks Nuggets for the show today. More text coming in the Whitehorse RV text board. Wow, this text board just blew up all of a sudden at 609-403-0973. A couple of texts coming in. Alex, producer for the Locker Room with Billy Schwein on the weekend, says, I'm wearing the red jersey to the game tonight. There you go. See, there it is. That's what you wear. You don't wear the abomination City Connect. You wear the red jersey. You wear Phillies red. It's a good job by Alec Berard, as producer on the weekends with the Locker Room with Billy Schwein. Of course, you hear him on my show at times as well when he produces with me on 97.3 ESPN. Alex is a good man. He gets the assignment. He understands. Phillies red, not City Connect. Let's see here. We got John and Avalon chime in and say, hey, Josh, great to hear you're still filling in for Mike Gill. Looking forward to tomorrow night. I want to see throw of the 2s and 3s on the offense on our team so you can stand out and make the squad. Also, shout out to Steve from Stern Harbor, who I met in the Wawa in Claremont about 20 minutes ago. We were talking sports, and he says he's an avid listener to the show. Well, shout out to Steve from Stern Harbor Boulevard. The Wawa in Claremont. That would be, you mean Ocean View? Because Claremont's more like near like Slack Tie Brewing. So I'm guessing you mean I'm thinking here, there's the Wawa in Ocean View. There's the Wawa in Cape May Courthouse. There's no more Wawa at the corner of Route 9 and Avalon Boulevard. So I'm guessing you meant the Wawa in Ocean View, where Sea Isle Boulevard is. Now, John Avalon, you got me all mixed up. You're from Avalon. Steve is from Stern Harbor Boulevard. You're at the Wawa in Ocean View. My geography and my brain has gotten messy. Let's get back to sports here. Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see, John Avalon, who of the second and third teams is going to step up. Because number one, we don't have confirmation who actually is the backup quarterback for this Eagles team. So both Dalton and Tanner McKee did not look great last week. So who is going to be the backup quarterback? This might be an opportunity for each one of them to maybe solidify themselves in that job. We talked with Andrew DeCecco about the wide receivers. He said that Elijah Moore might not play because of he missed the second day of joint practice. But listen, if Elijah Moore doesn't play, maybe it's an opportunity for a guy like Hollywood Brown to really lock in his role on this team. Darius Cooper is the guy that people have been raving about for weeks now. Could this be a game where he locks in his role? I don't know if we're going to see Mekhi Lemon. I mean, the guy has basically had one practice the entire month. Quez Watkins. Could Quez Watkins find his way back onto the roster on this team? He's a guy that might see some action. Now, we did hear today about, I want to say 20 minutes ago, actually 30 minutes ago, that Johnny Wilson has been waived with an injury designation. So you're not going to see him in preseason anymore. That's disappointing because he was a guy that a lot of people had a lot of hopes for. But you know the guy who is going to play tomorrow night, who I am very excited for? Anyone who's listening to us here on 97.3 ESPN knows, and John Avalon probably nodding his head when he hears this. I have been a huge advocate of Eli Stowers. I am so high on that guy coming out of college. I am a huge, huge, huge fan of his. So I would love to see him get more action in this preseason game tomorrow night when Merrill Wilson might quick call the action. here at home for Eagles football in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. We'll get to more of your text messages on the other side. Keep them coming in on the Whitehorse RV text board at 609-403-0973. Don't forget the Phillies fastball coming up in about 15 minutes. Oscar Budejen is back for today's edition of Phillies fastball. We will get more into the Phillies weekend series with the Arizona Cardinals with Oscar coming up in about 15 minutes. So stay tuned for that. All that and more still to come. And by the way, I haven't seen a single Happy Hour Friday text today. I mean, do you guys only do recommendations when Mike Gill is here? What's up with that? Come on. You think Mike Gill is the only person who drinks beer around here? I mean, come on, guys. You're better than that. Where's Josh and Kate May? Where is Josh and Kate? I haven't heard a text from that guy all week. You'd think that guy would be texting Josh, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM. The 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. And we are streaming live on YouTube and X at 973 ESPN.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Keeping the fans entertained and happy.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-923-6829 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-923-6829. That's 800-923-6829. What do you have to lose? Call 800-923-6829. Again, 800-923-6829.
When adventure is calling, turn to the experts at Whitehorse RV Center. For over 50 years, families and adventurers have trusted Whitehorse RV to find industry-top brands and the floor plans that fit every lifestyle. From travel trailers with bunk beds and outside kitchens to motorhomes and destination trailers. Whether you're hitting the open road or planning a local campground getaway, it's about experience, selection, and people who care. See why generations have answered the call with Whitehorse RV Center, because your RV adventure starts here.
Score 52 on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. I never anticipated John and Avalon's text to completely like derail our conversations. And I mean that in the most positive way. Because so John texted in, he ran into somebody at Wawa, right? First of all, shout out to John and Avalon. He confirmed yes, he goes to Wawa. He agrees with me about Eli Scout. So I got that right. But then out of nowhere, I want to remind everybody, here was John and Avalon's script. Shout out to Steve from Stern Harbor Boulevard, who I met at Wawa. So I get a text as well. Somebody else texted in and confirmed that the Wawa that John and Avalon is talking about was the Seattle Boulevard Wawa. But then the person goes on to give me like a full detailed explanation of who the person is. He goes, yeah, I know who Steve is. He graduated from Middle Township. He has a twin named Dave. His dad owns a business in Stern Harbor. Like, this whole thing went nuts. I got people confirming to me what the Wawa is. I got a guy telling me the guy's full name, what year he graduated. I didn't give that out, obviously, but like is there some sort of internal network of information I don't know that was out there? I mean, I know Cape County is a small community, and I always appreciate running into people whenever I go out. I mean, the fact that one person knew the Wawa, another person texted in, knew exactly who Steve is. Like, y'all okay out there? I mean, that was just wild. By the way, we found Josh from Cape May Courthouse. Sorry, Josh from Cape May. He's got a happy hour Friday recommendation. I'll get to that in the next step. I'm sure Josh from Cape May heard his name. That's why I texted him, right? If I didn't say Josh Cape May's name, would he have texted in a happy hour Friday recommendation? That's the question I want to know. I got people texting and laughing emojis now. Multiple people. Phillies fastball next on 97.3 ESPN.
The Birds are back. Catch Philadelphia Eagles preseason football as the Eagles get ready for the 2026 season. Heading to At
0 point would I ever consider not being a fan of the team.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
5 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Shout out to Josh gave me driving home. He gave us a happy hour recommendation. You guys can give your recommendations as well at 609-403-0973. It's time for Phillies Fastball, brought to you by Ventnor Social, the place to go to get every Phillies game on their 20 big screen TVs while enjoying great food and drink. Visit their Facebook page for update info on upcoming specials. And don't forget, the Sports Bash will be back there on the 26th. This coming Wednesday, Mike Gill will be back. He'll be back at Ventnor Social here with the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Right now, it is time for Phillies Fastball with Oscar Budejen. He joins us right now on 97.3 ESPN. Oscar, welcome in. How you doing today?
Josh, I'm doing great. I mean, not better than the Philadelphia Phillies. They own the best record in baseball in the month of August. When you look, I was looking at the stats, and it's just mind-boggling. 5.4 runs per game, number 2 in all of baseball in the month of August, and a 3.15 ERA, number 4 in baseball. Look, we've been talking all along, this team strikes out too much, this team don't get, base on balls. Well, you know what? They're number 1 in baseball in the month of August, the most base on balls and the most, the least amount of strikeouts. I mean, it's just, amazing what this team has done. I think a rise has a lot to do with it. And if you don't believe me, Bryce Harper in the month of August has a 518 on-base percentage. 518. I mean, come on, guys. What's going on here? And then you look at Baum and Stott and Justin Crawford. Hey, I'm a little bit more optimistic than I was a couple weeks ago. I mean, this team has the potential even to catch the Braves. I mean, the Braves we'll talk about what the Braves have coming up right now. They're playing Milwaukee. They're actually losing 2-0 when we speak here. Look, I'm liking the prospects right now of where this team is looking.
Yeah, the Brewers keep playing these games early in the day, and it's ruining my fantasy baseball team. Okay, it's absolutely destroying my ability to play fantasy baseball because I keep forgetting to check my lineup earlier in the day, and I keep leaving Bryce Terang and everybody on my bench. So it's the Brewers need to get back to playing 7, 8 o'clock games. I'm tired of these early games. But enough of my
you need to do it like I do. I hardly play with any bench. I'm on the hitters. I just try to have an elite lineup and just let it run. I have Wilson Contreras, and he brought in a run a few minutes ago.
I got 20 different guys injured on my fantasy baseball team, but enough about me. I like what you mentioned about the hitters, Oscar, because I wanted to bring this up with you. We kind of touched on this a little bit about this the other day, you and I, but I wanted to follow up on it. We've talked a lot about how the Phillies hitters as a whole have hit better this month, and particularly Alec Bohm. And I don't think it gets talked about enough how the Luis Arias acquisition may have benefited him as much as anyone, because now Alec Bohm is not being asked to be one of your 4 or 5 best hitters. He can now be that second tier down, right? He can be a guy that, hey, Alex, we're not asking you to be one of our best hitters. We're just asking you to be part of the team. And I got to imagine for a guy like him, maybe that pressure, maybe that stress being taken off of him, even if it's a little bit, right? Maybe that could help his mind.
I haven't looked at his splits, and I'll try to look at them as we speak here in terms of the position of the order. But historically, over the last 3 years, he has had to be the 4th guy, either the 4th or the 5th guy. It was either him or Nick Castellanos hitting behind Harper, and they didn't make enough contact or enough solid contact in the case of Baum. I mean, a lot of going for the first pitch out there, trying to avoid to strike out. I mean, he looks like a different hitter the way he's been hitting over the last few days. I mean, I'm like, what is this the Alec Bohm that we know? I mean, what's going on here? I mean, it's truly, I mean, incredible what this team has done this month. Truly, I mean, I am in shock, to be honest with you. I mean, and when I get it with Bryson Stott. Bryson Stott have been playing better every month since the start of May. He has improving every month. By the way, a couple of plays he made at third base the other day to end the game. I mean, that was sick. I mean, that was a really good baseball there. On he showed he can that he has a glove in addition to being able to hit at least for this month. So. Look, I'm liking what I'm seeing. And Alec Bohm, I mean, especially, I am very surprised how good he has hit this month. I mean, compared to where he's been the entire year. I mean, he's 30 years old. He should be at the prime of his career. And we have not seen him hitting like this in a while. Just so, let me see here. On his career, looking at the different spots where he hit. Here you go. He has, when he hits his OPS, he's had 63 games hitting second. He has a 671 OPS, pretty bad. Third, 794, pretty decent. Fourth, 720. Fifth, 717, and then sixth, 711. So the best place for him to hit his pitch. He's played 55 games. He's hitting eighth. So, but I agree with you. I mean, I think there's less pressure on him. He looks a lot more relaxed. This whole idea about a plan, which surprised me because, look, since I know baseball, I played baseball. I mean, we always had a plan. I mean, we sit down, see who's pitching, and then there's a plan to go after the pitcher. I mean, see a first pitch fastball hitter that we need to go after it, or do we need to be patient? I mean, his control might not be perfect. You establish a game plan, and hearing that for the first time they're having meetings and game planning. I mean, look, maybe they should have had this a long time ago, and but this team is winning, and there's nothing. I mean, is the remedy of every sickness is winning. So we're in great shape, and this team is looking really, really good at this point.
And Oscar, what's interesting is you mentioned about having a game plan. I think that's the other thing going into this weekend. Well, you better have a better game plan than you did a couple weeks ago, because the last time you faced these three pitchers in St. Louis, you didn't do so well offensively, right? You had some issues, and let's be realistic. You know, it's not that Leahy or Palante or Dobbins are like the best pitchers in baseball, but for whatever reason, Oscar, this Phillies team at times struggles against, no-name pitchers, right? They have these issues where it's like, hey, they seem like, I don't know what it is. Do they zero in more against certain pitchers than others? It almost feels like it. So I hope that whatever the game plan was in St. Louis, they better put that on its head this weekend.
I think, look, the fact that they face both Palante and Leahy is going to help them a lot. I think this team they're hitting. I mean, they're hitting since the Field of Dreams game. I mean, this is a different team. They haven't lost, and they're scoring 7. I mean, last game he scored 4, but before that they had 7, and 9 runs. What they did in Minnesota, I do believe this team is at another level right now, and I expect that they will play much better. Our hitters are going to be much more effective this weekend against St. Louis Cardinal teams that are playing for their lives. I mean, they are right there in the thick of the race, but I just don't see it. I mean, to be honest with you, I just don't see. The Cardinals are right now 2.5 games. I think it's let me see here. I was looking at the standing. Here we go. Here's the wild card. Right now, the Cardinals are 2.5 games out of the wild card. Look, they have an opportunity, and this weekend is very, very important for them, just like it is for the Phils. So it'll be very, very interesting.
I think that's a part of the conversation. Oscar Budejen joining us for Phillies Fastball today on 97.3 ESPN, being brought to you by Ventnor Social on Ventnor Ave in Ventnor, with their 20 big screen TVs for you to watch every Phillies game. Oscar, you just brought up the fact that this is an important weekend for both the Phillies and Cardinals. The Cardinals can inch closer in that wild card race. The Phillies, they can kind of squash their hopes and dreams this weekend. So I don't know if they're going to sweep them like the Marlins, but it's imperative for them to at least get 2 out of 3 here.
Yeah, I think that's a priority, right? 2 out of 3. We won 6 straight. I mean, we're the hottest team in baseball. Right now, we're 8-10. We're 8-2 in the last 10 games. I mean, this team is hitting this team is pitching. It's the whole idea. I mean, and you know what? Credit to Aaron Nola. I mean, we need to give credit to Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola has been pitching incredible. I mean, you got to give it to the guy. In the month of August, Aaron Nola has been pitching to a 2.74 ERA in 4 starts, 23 innings, 30 strikeouts. I mean, he looks like a different pitcher right now, and that's the beauty of it. I mean, we need Zach Wheeler to get back on track, but I mean that combination with Wheeler, Sanchez, Luzardo, and Nola. I mean, I'm telling you, if we go to the playoff right now, I feel very, very comfortable that we are going to have a good chance, particularly if we continue hitting the same way. Again, we're not facing the toughest pitchers in baseball. It's going to be very, very interesting. And the other thing, Dutch, and we should talk about this because to me this is very important. The Phillies are right now first facing the Cardinals. Then we start a massive road trip of a total of 9 games against Seattle, the Angels, and Arizona. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be very, very interesting. After the team will leave after the game on Sunday, it'll be very interesting. And then we face the Braves, Houston, and the Braves again. So believe me, this ain't going to be there's no cakewalk around here. The Braves have it tougher in the next few series. They play Milwaukee and the Dodgers back-to-back. Then they have a makeup game against San Francisco on the Monday, the 31st. And then they play Phillies, the Tampa Bay Rays, and then Philadelphia. But they have an easier ending. They play Miami and Cincinnati while we get to play Chicago and Tampa, which, I mean, I hope they're going to be all they'll have wrap up the series and they're just trying to get their starting pitching going. But we got to win now. I mean, this is the opportunity for us. These 3 games are very important. We got to win, as you said, 2 out of 3 games.
I think the other big thing you mentioned the upcoming schedule, Oscar. How about the fact they have no left-handed starters for this weekend or the Mariners series or the Angels series? So you got 9 games coming up where, hey, no platoons, Oscar, no platoons, just straight regular lineup.
You're facing Miller, Gilbert, and Kirby in 3 games in Seattle. That is no easy walk. I mean, those three guys can really, really pitch. The Angels, Ureña looks really good. I'm glad we're not having to face the lefty they have. Is a really, really good lefty. But Ureña is a good pitcher. We got him next Sunday, August 30th in Los Angeles. So look, I think if we go 3 games now and then next week, I would want to go more than a split. I mean, 9 games, I would like to win 6 out of the 9 if at all possible. I think we're going to be in good shape as we start facing a very interesting part of the schedule against Arizona, Braves, Houston, and Braves once again. I mean, Houston needs to win. Atlanta needs to win. I do believe we can catch Atlanta now. I didn't think of that a week ago when we were 9.5 games, but I think we cut the lead from 9.5 games to 5 right now. So it's within range. I mean, we're talking, August the 30th, the 21st today. I mean, we're within range right now of potentially winning the division. And the important thing that we talked about yesterday, if we don't win the division, we're probably going to be behind the Cubs. And if we're behind the Cubs, we're going to have to play away either in Chicago or in Atlanta or in Los Angeles. And believe me, those are not easy. I prefer to be playing at Citizens Bank Park, those series.
You just mentioned about this weekend. I think one of the big questions about this weekend as well, Oscar, is what do we get from Andrew Painter tomorrow? I think that's an interesting part of this conversation because, Aaron Nola, he's helped stabilize this rotation, right? He has kind of made it so 1 through 4 feels a lot more stable. Now, what do you get from Painter at that 5th spot, not just tomorrow, for the next few weeks?
It's probably right now the biggest question for the Phillies, in my view. That is the biggest question right now. The easy answer is I don't know. I think he's going to be better at home than he was on the road the last time that he pitched. He pitched in Minnesota and he allowed that grand slam. To me, I mean, I'm still puzzled what that pitch that he threw there. But I think he's going to pitch better. I do believe that tomorrow he's going to pitch much better. And we're going to have a better version of him this time around. He's going to be facing Palante, which is a good pitcher. So it's going to be an interesting matchup for the Phils, but I do believe we're going to get a better version of Painter. And I'm very, I mean, the series in Seattle will start with Wheeler on the mound. That's going to be a very important outing for Wheeler. Wheeler has not been himself over the last 3 or 4 outings, so we need Zach Wheeler back on track. I don't know if it's that arm or what is it, but we need Zach Wheeler back on track.
I'm glad you mentioned Wheeler because we have this conversation about Wheeler and his unusual year that he's having. You know, coming back from the injury, was blazing hot, and now he's cooled off. And, you know, I go back to the Blue Jays game, right, Oscar? And that whole situation where the Blue Jays coach gets thrown out of the game. You know, Wheeler's yelling expletives at the dugout for the Blue Jays about the whole rubber situation. And right after that is when he started kind of like falling apart. And, you know, it's like, if you would have told me that same incident happened in like 2023 and 2024, I would assume Wheeler would throw out the next 5 batters in a row, right? But instead, it's like, you know, for whatever reason, that rubber situation kind of got into his head. So it seems like it's not just Wheeler having an abnormal year, but like we're getting like a different version of Zach Wheeler now.
Yeah, he's such an even keel guy. I mean, a pretty cool guy, pretty laid back. I mean, he focuses on his craft and he searches for excellence. I mean, that's who he is. And great guy, nice guy. Had the opportunity to talk to him. Even look, he's one of the pitchers that will go out when the guys are doing batting practice when it's his day to pitch, and then he sits down with you there and start just chatting with you. I mean, so he's a really, really laid back and a great guy. And seeing what happened in Toronto, I think he's playing with a little bit more of an edge this year, particularly, I mean, coming back from his injury. I think he demanded a lot. I mean, it was probably not very easy for him to get back to the caliber of pitcher that he is. I trust that guy like I trust anyone on the Phillies, on that Phillies team. Unless he's hurt, I mean, he's going to give you his all. And I do believe Zach Wheeler is going to be the number 1 pitcher for this team in the postseason. I don't have any doubts about that. I mean, this guy has that. I mean, you've seen it. I mean, you've seen this guy for 4 straight years, 3 straight years. You saw what this guy is capable of doing in the postseason. I mean, he's a monster. I mean, he's a big-time pitcher. I compare him to that John Smoltz. Remember when John Smoltz pitched that 7th game? He's a horse. I mean, this guy, I'm telling you, in baseball, you ask me to put 1 pitcher, I pick him ahead of, Scoobo and anyone you want. I put this guy number 1 because this guy he's smart. I mean, he combines tremendous pitching skills together with kind of a go-get attitude. I love this guy. I mean, this guy is a workhorse, and I think he's gonna be just fine. I would not worry too much about it. But look, I want to make sure that he gets out of this funk as soon as possible because this team is not going anywhere without Zach Wheeler pitching really, really well. Because if not, you're going to lose one of the initial games in the series. And I do believe he probably should be our number 1 starter.
Well, to your point, you know, part of the reason why you're taking a Wheeler over a Scoob or whoever you want to name is because what you just said, Oscar, Wheeler's got the resume in the playoffs. Those other guys don't. You know, a lot of guys are going to the playoffs. Like you go through all the best teams in baseball right now. There's really only a handful of guys even have playoff experience who are on pitching staffs. You know, the Braves.
Chris Sale would be the other guy. Right. Chris Sale would be the other guy that I probably put out there. That is a big-time pitcher. I mean, look, that could be the matchup of Game 1 of the Phillies playoff. I mean, Chris Sale against Zach Wheeler. I mean, that's. I mean, today, by the way, Chris Sale is pitching against Mr. Rusky, so it's a tremendous matchup that baseball will have today with that game. But look, it's going to be very interesting. Look, to me, consistency, right? That's the word you want moving forward. I want more consistency on the fastball from Painter. I want more consistency from our hitters. We need to be more disciplined. We've shown more discipline in the month of August. You got to keep this momentum. You got to play like this the rest of the way so you can start hot and then have that confidence to go into the playoffs. And do we have a chance to catch up the Braves? I think we do. I don't like the Braves pitching. Martin Perez and after Chris Sales, you got Martin Perez, you got
Bryce
Bailey. I mean, it's just they don't have it. I mean, they just don't have the depth.
Oscar, I got to ask you, this has got to be like, and I'm not trying to be like mean, but like, this is like the worst Braves starting rotation in what, 40 years? Like you go, Braves have always had pretty good pitching, right? And it's like, there's really only one guy on the whole rotation this year. Like over the years, there was always 2 or 3 guys, right?
Yeah, Braves. I mean, Braves is a private organization, so they keep their dollars very tight. That's why they secure guys very young to try to underpay them in the big years. I mean, they should have gone after Max Fried and re-signed the guy. I mean, imagine Max Fried together with Chris Sale. That would make an interesting 1-2, and then potentially a third guy that they could have in that rotation. They don't. So, look, you got to take advantage of that. And if you win Game 1, by the way, one of the best games that I've seen from the Phillies. And it was the masterpiece that Ranger Suarez threw on Game 1 against the Braves. I think it was in 2023. We went to Atlanta, and we stole the game from Atlanta with I don't know if it was in 22 or 23, one of the 2 years. I mean, it was a chess match. And I told Rob Thompson and said, look, you outsmart the Braves thinking tank. So absolutely, that was incredible. He pitched for 4 innings. I mean, then he changed. Then everybody that came after, it was a pitcher that threw 97 miles or above. And then one of the issues the Braves had that year is that they couldn't hit fastballs above 96 miles an hour. So it was a mess. I mean, that was what I love the thinking part of the game, and that was a masterpiece.
So it was October 7th, 2023. You had Rangers start the game, and following him, you had Jeff Hoffman, then Sir Anthony Dominguez, Jose Alvarado, Orion Kerkering, Matt Strom, and you finished the game with former Braves closer Craig Kimbrell.
Look at that, man. Look at that. What was the score? Like 3-1, 4-1?
3-0.
3-0. I mean, I'm telling you, that was one of the best. That game, to me, is the best master planning game from a pitching standpoint. How many innings the Ranger threw?
3 2/3. He actually didn't get through the full 4. He got into the 4th.
I thought it was a 4 1/3, but 3 1/4. Telling you, he took him out at the right time, and he brought all those guys except Strom. Every pitcher that you saw there threw more than 96 miles an hour.
Yeah, he took him out with 2 men on base, and that's when they brought in Hoffman.
And that was a stat that anyone that the Braves hitters could not hit a fastball 96 miles an hour and above. I mean, that's one of the best games that I've been a part of with the Phillies. That was special, man. That was super, super special.
I'm double checking right now, but I believe that was also the series when it went back to Philadelphia that Strider got shook by the fans.
We lost the next game with a home run by Riley. Riley hit a home run, and then we came back to Philly, and then we won, I think, the 2 games, and then
so this is the game I was thinking of. So this was the series when they came back to Philadelphia, and Strider came back for that 4th game. He was shook by the fans. Remember?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he gave up three walks and 3 runs by Strider. The fans had him out of his gourd in that game. Remember?
I mean, look, I remember because that the second game of that series that we lost, I think it was a Riley home run in the 9th inning that tied the game, or the 8th inning. We had to stay that extra night in Atlanta. The entire team had to stay an extra night in Atlanta because there were rain delays because of showers, and we had to stay another night. We couldn't fly. We flew in the next morning. So it's fine. Look, to me, Phillies post-game, Red October, there's nothing like it, man. It's the most special time of the year. I mean, I had a ball with the team. I mean, it was really, really special.
I love it. I love doing down the memory lane with Oscar here on Phillies Fastball on 97.3 ESPN. Oscar, great stuff as always. But I do got to criticize you on one thing: the bad hat. I hate the City Connect. I hate the City Connect.
Today's Friday, ain't it? Today's the City Connect day, dude. Come on. I said, what am I going to wear today? And I said, hey, let me wear the City hat. I promise that I'll bring a new one on Monday. When is Mike back, by the way?
He's supposed to be back Monday. So his team, they play tonight
Okay.
If they win tonight, they go to the semifinals. And if they so the semifinals are tomorrow, and then the finals are on Sunday. So no matter what, when Mike returns on Monday, he's returning in some capacity, championship or not.
No, he either comes with a championship or he comes in third place.
Right.
That's not good enough. Go, Mike. Oh, Mike, go get them. Thank you, Judge. Appreciate you, man. Have a great weekend. And, hey, go Phils. And hopefully, and don't forget the Philly store. I mean, you can find all the great Phillies merchandise. He also has some LeBron James T-shirts that are out of this world. John Foley, great guy, part of the family. So thank you, Judge. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, just buy everything from Foley except for the Philly Connect hat.
Yeah, except the Philly Connect. I don't think he has the Philly Connect. That's what I'm telling you, the best array of T-shirts you'll find in the city. Go there at 22nd and South Street.
Oscar, great stuff. Have a good weekend.
Take it easy.
Josh Hennig, Philly for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. It is funny that Oscar was wearing the Philly Connect hat after I spent half the show talking about how much I hate the Philly Connect uniforms. We're also streaming live on YouTube and X. That's where you saw Oscar wearing the Philly Connect hat. All right, I got a bunch of texts coming in. I put the message out. I got Josh at Cape May, Jay in Cape May Courthouse. I got some others coming in. Who else is this on the text board? Justin from Ventnor. I got messages coming in about Happy Hour Friday. So it's all your messages coming up on the other side. Also, the Eagles and Phillies have been the conversation throughout the show. The White Horse RV text board is 609-403-0973. Josh Hennig hanging out with you, filling in for Mike Gill on a Happy Hour Friday edition of the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Go to get your game on at the Fanatics Sportsbook in the Gallery at Ocean Casino Resort. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Go for the sports scene and go for the endless screens. Go where fans become fanatics at the Fanatics Sportsbook in the Gallery. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
On 97.3 ESPN.
The 5 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash is brought to you by Cross County Connection, providing fare free transit across southern New Jersey. For details, call 856-229-7571 or visit driveless.com.
.533 on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank in Seattle City, streaming live on YouTube and X at 973 ESPN. We got Happy Hour Friday messages to get to. We also got other texts coming in on the White Horse RV text board at 609-403-0973. I'm laughing a little bit because I think one of our most blunt daily textures we get is Ray in EHD. Ray is like unafraid to tell you if he agrees or disagrees with comments. So I love how he's just rolls into. I feel like Ray's the guy. So like, if anyone has ever watched shows like Cheers or Frasier, where there are certain characters who they never walk in and say hello. They just walk in and just start their diatribe or start their rant or just start going into whatever topic they want to talk about. And Frasier's character would always turn around, whether it was Cheers or whether it was his show. And he would just kind of have this look on his face like, hello to you too? How you doing? Like, nothing? No, we're just doing right into it. All right, here we go. Ray HD is the guy who just rolls right in and says, he goes, damn, Josh, why don't you like the City Connect uniforms? I can't. I kind of like the fact that we get a little bit of color in the uniform they don't wear very often, Ray and EHD. That's why I don't like it, Ray. I like my team to be loyal to their color scheme. Like, I hate when the Eagles wear anything that is not green, black, white. If it's any other color, I don't feel it. You know, to me, and especially a sport like baseball, but to me, it's any sport. There are colors that you identify with your team. You know, when I say a certain team, there are colors that immediately come to your mind. When I say go Birds, you think green. When you say go Phils, you think red. When you say Flyers, it's orange and the black. With the Sixers, it's a little more complicated because over the years, the franchise has kind of been wishy-washy what the real color scheme is. So with the Sixers, it's like some strange amalgamation of blue and red, and every once in a while they have white and black mixed in with different variations. But to me, I feel like the City Connect uniform is an absolute abomination. The Phillies historically have always been red, white. You have your road grays. Every once in a while, you mix in a little blue here and there in certain scenarios. They had the run where it was the maroon with the powder blue. Like, those are, to me, are Phillies colors historically. I got decades and decades of time of what the uniform is, what the color scheme is. And all of a sudden, you come in with this stupid multi-million-dollar agreement for these new uniforms, and you ruin everything. Like Mike McGarry brought up earlier about how he doesn't mind the New York Mets black uniform. And I said, of course you don't mind it, because you have positive memories of Mike Piazza hitting home runs in the Mets black uniform. To me, if Philadelphia was going to anything, quote unquote, City Connect alternate colors, you go powder blue, or you get a new variant of the maroon P uniform that they wore for the 1980 World Championship team years. This obsession with let's make a fancy, different looking uniform. I'm out. I have no interest. At least the Field of Dreams game, they wore a uniform that was a throwback to the 1930s. I also hated when the All-Star game had those stupid looking uniforms for the American League and National League. You know, the whole point of your team having one player from at least every team in the All-Star game is because they wear their uniform. There's no point in the 1990s of having Jeff Cirillo from the Brewers in the All-Star game, except for the fact that it was the Brewers representative. But then for years, we had the All-Star game wearing uniforms that didn't even have anything to do with team colors. Just so dumb to me. I probably sound like get off my lawn, but to me, I love the red pinstripe. I'm a huge fan of the red pinstripe. Powder blue, I'm game. Bring back the maroon P uniform. I'm down for it. The road grays, cool. It's been around forever. And if you're going to get interesting, we talked about this earlier here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. At this point, it's not like I do need a drink for Happy Hour Friday, but, I'm working. I would say the other uniform is the spring training style all red Phillies top with the white pant or the gray pant on the road. Bring those back. Just get rid of the City Connect after this year. I'm out. I'm done. Text coming in on the Whitehorse RB text board at 609-403-0973. Texture says, hey, Josh, that's the way you feel about the Philly City Connects. You would really hate the Boston Red Sox with the crazy colors they've been wearing lately. Yeah, I've seen some of them. It's like a green uniform. One is green, which I don't understand. And the other one is like some like yellow something. It's confusing. I know the Red Sox. I thought it was a banana ball game. What is the Red Sox? I gotta find it because they're actually just as bad, if not worse, than the Philly City Connect uniform. Let me see here. I gotta find the one because the one, yes, there's the green one, which I think is horrible. You're the Red Sox. Why are you wearing green? I'm sure it's something dumb reason to do with the green monster, which makes it even worse. And then where's the other one? There's a yellow one here it is. Yeah, so they have these yellow uniforms that they wear as well. And I see these uniforms and I'm like, I thought it was a banana ball game. I did. See if I can put this up on the YouTube stream if my computer will cooperate with me. So when I first saw these uniforms, right? If you're watching on YouTube and X, I'm trying to put these up on the stream over here. When I first saw these, I genuinely thought when I was flipping the channels, when I was on MLB TV, I thought I accidentally clicked on Banana Ball. The blue hat and the yellow jersey for the Red Sox. This is horrible. Like, this is as bad as the City Connect. It has nothing to do with the Red Sox. I don't want to hear about city history or connection to the city or da-da-da-da. No. The Boston Red Sox are red, white, and that very, very dark blue that's almost black. These are banana ball uniforms. Okay? And then the other one that they wore, let me find the other one, the green one. The green one's just as bad. And I'm sure there's some dope out there who's going to tell me that the green one has to do with the green monster, and I don't care. Let me see here. That one's small. I need a bigger picture so I can actually show everybody what I'm talking about here. See, that one's just all right. I'll just pull up this one. It's fine. You guys got me on uniform rancid now. This is so poor. Like, to me, I don't care what sport it is. Like, any sport should not have anything that is not the team color scheme. There's the green one. Like, I get it. Green monster. It's in the color and the text and the writing. It's of the green monster. I get what it is. I still don't like it. I mean, it's better than the yellow and the blue one. At least I can rationalize the green Fenway Park green monster uniform. But the blue and the yellow it's horrible. Just so dumb. So good job, Jordan Summers Point, for making me get off my lawn a little more. More text coming in on the Whitehorse RV text board at 609-403-0970. Says, is this Billy Schweim checking? He says, Josh, I can agree with you more. I hate the Philly Connect uniforms. Every other third or fourth outfit these teams are wearing. I think it is the Schweiner texting in. Yeah, me and Billy, like, I always love the fact that, like, Billy has all, like, the youth movement in the locker room on the weekends here on 97.3 ESPN. And it's like, but the youth movement is always like 30 to 40 years younger than Billy. So, like, I'm in between. So I feel like I'm more like the voice of reason. Like, I'm not old enough to be Clint Eastwood, but I'm not young enough to be cool and hip anymore. So, like, I got enough gray hair to show that I've lived life, but not enough gray hair to look like I'm old. So it's like when me and Billy are on the same page, something up. John Avalon follows up, says, Josh, I agree with you. The City Connects are garbage. It looks horrible. I'll do any other uniform for the Phillies other than that one. If I see them wearing it, it makes me want to turn off the TV. The ironic thing, John Avalon, you say that. Most of those Friday night games with the City Connect uniforms are on Apple TV Plus. So in order for you to see the Phillies live, you got to power up this stupid Apple TV. There's another rant I have. Got to power up Apple TV or Apple Plus or whatever it's called to watch a lot of those games. John Avalon goes on to say, the color combination is as bad as the Eagles one with the throwback blue and yellow. Yes, that is horrible as well. What does blue and yellow have to do with Eagles anything in the last 60, 70 years? Nothing. Nada. Zilch. If it's not Kelly Green, if it's not Midnight Green, if it's not the black unis from the mid to late 2000s, if it's not the all whites with the green, I'm out as well. Eagles have their colors. That's it. The only color that's acceptable as a non-traditional team color in any scheme is black, because black is 9 times out of 10 makes the uniform look cool. There is something just bad, what, about like the Sixer black uniform or the Eagles blackout uniform. Like those blacks, like even like Oregon football. Like, you ever see the Oregon, they're black with the silver and the green? I mean, that is sick. Like, that is really cool. So to me, the only color that you can do that's alternate from the main colors is black. Otherwise, like Jack Kimmy Courthouse, their uniforms look like Sesame Street. Exactly. So true. All right. Happy Hour Friday picks on the other side. Josh Hennig hanging out with you, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Philadelphia Eagles preseason football as the Eagles get ready for the 2026 season. Heading to Foxborough to face the AFC champion Patriots. Tomorrow night, pregame coverage starts at 6 with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 7.
He takes his drop. He's looking. He's grabbed. They're going to sack him and throw him down at the 23-yard line. Jalen Carter.
This is South Jersey's radio home of the Philadelphia Eagles. 97.3 ESPN.
Town Square Media has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible offers from some fantastic local businesses. Get this great deal right now. Get one $50 gift card for just $25 to the Island Grill in Ocean City. It's the area's go-to restaurant for fresh catch local seafood with a laid-back beach vibe. That's a $50 gift card for just $25. Great deal right now at
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
The 5 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash is brought to you by Cross County Connection, providing fare free transportation across southern New Jersey. For details, call 856-229-7571 or visit driveless.com.
Well, I got some bad news. The St. Louis Cardinals just announced they have placed Andre Palante on the 15-day injured list. To replace him, they're calling up Ryan Fernandez from AAA. Do you know what that means? Ryan Fernandez probably goes 6 innings, strike out 6 guys, give up 1 run. Because the Phillies can never hit a guy that no one's ever heard of. They can't hit the mediocre pitching. Ryan Fernandez has a 3 ERA in 31 games at AAA this year. He has 33 strikeouts in 33 innings. He is the most subpar, barely above average minor league pitcher available, which means the Phillies will struggle against him this weekend, and we'll all be wondering, why on earth can we not hit Ryan Fernandez? And then whatever his next start is, he'll get lit up by that team. Because that's what always happens with the Phillies. Let's wrap up the White Horse RV text board at 609-403-0973. Someone texted in, the Red Sox first wore the yellow uniforms is attributed to the Boston Marathon bombings. It's a good cause, but they're ugly. They're very ugly. They're like the outcast, the rejects for Banana Ball. Jay McCourthouse says he's drinking a Stone IPA while he watches the Westchester Little League team play at 7 against Bayonne tonight. So he's bailing on the Phillies game. He's going Little League baseball while drinking an IPA. Got it. What other recommendations we got here for Happy Hour Friday here? Josh at K. May says, Gusto Brewing's Time Cannon. Sounds interesting. I haven't had Time Cannon. I'll try to get down to Gusto at some point. You know, I'm running out of summer here, and I only got so many days off. I'm filling in for Mike Gill this week. I filled in for Mike Gill 2 weeks ago. A lot going on here. I'm busy. I got a show tomorrow, Hang with Hennig, 12 to 3 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. Maybe I'll try to get down there on my next personal day off. Where that comes from. I'm working tomorrow, but it's raining tomorrow, which means I'll probably go to the beach on Sunday because it's actually nice on Sunday. Justin from Metner says, go drop 30 on a bottle of Clays Azul, Josh. Here's the thing, Justin. I got to be honest with you, bro. And Justin from Metner's a great dude. There is no scenario where I'm dropping $30, $300 on anything alcohol related with my my current state of financial and professional affairs. If I was like one of those rich media guys like Pat McAfee, then yeah, I'd drop $300 on a bottle of anything. Listen, I can spend like a tenth of that and get a great bottle of like Salento organic tequila, and it'd be just as good, if not better, than Class A. Is it Class Azul or Class A Azul? Yeah, we're running out of real estate here. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into the Sports Bash today on 97.3 ESPN. Thanks also to Oscar Budejen. Thanks to Mike McGarry. Thanks to Bob Wankel, Zach Berman, Andrew DeCecco. Thanks to all of you for listening on 97.3 ESPN. I'll catch you tomorrow after Billy Schweim and the Locker Room. Hey, this is Josh Hennig. Join me this Saturday, 12 to 3 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN as we review the Eagles' joint practices with the Patriots ahead of the Birds' preseason game number 2 and recap the Phillies' week against their NL wildcard contenders. Hanging with Hennig on 97.3 ESPN is sponsored by Boulevard Super Liquors, the best selection of beer and spirits at the Jersey Shore, located minutes off Garden State Parkway, exit 25, at the foot of the Ocean City 34th Street Bridge. Ivy Rehab Physical Therapy Centers, with over 18 locations around South Jersey, offering best-in-class outpatient physical therapy. Stone Harbor Bar and Grill, now with 36 brand new 4K TVs, so you can watch your favorite team play every game, every day. Caesars Sportsbook, where you earn perks with every wager on every sport. That's Hanging with Hennig, Saturdays 12 to 3 p.m. on 973 ESPN FM. Streaming live on YouTube and X.